not for me.
What is actually going to stop you preaching? What we have to do to stop it?
Just build a new grave.
Build your grave. That's it. But you're not going to stop
جموعا وفرادا نحن بالرشاش عدنا نملك اليوم القيادة ومشينا صحوة الجيل جموعا وفرادا ما عرفنا العيش إلا عنفوانا وجلادا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Amongst my dear brothers, the many signs, or the sa'a as we call it, the signs of the hour, there are many, and they divided into two. They're known as the major signs of the hour and the minor signs of the hour. And from amongst the minor signs, incidentally, is that the prevalence of alcohol and zina would become rampant amongst this ummah. And we wonder how close we are to that time now, how much zina and how much haram. But one of the signs of the hour, one of the minor signs of the hour, is that the knowledge, it would disappear. The knowledge of the deen, it would disappear, and the jahiliyyah, it would start to become rampant. And there's ample narrations describing our reality today in regards to this. Umar al-Faruq, he said, the pillars of Islam, they will be untied one by one. The pillars of Islam, meaning the 5 pillars of Islam. There's not 5 pillars of Islam, incidentally. When we say 5 pillars of Islam, we say Islam is based upon those 5 pillars. Otherwise you just restrict it just to those 5 pillars. He said the pillars of Islam, they'll be untied one by one, until people, they'll be raised in Islam, and they will not know jahiliyyah. What does that mean? People will be raised in Islam, but they will not know jahiliyyah. Meaning, in another narration, Umar al-Faruq, he said, you cannot attack kufr unless you know kufr. That's why it's important to know the kufr and important to know the shirk in order to attack it. But here, he said that the pillars of Islam will be untied one by one until people will be raised in Islam not knowing jahiliyyah. And because they don't know what is jahiliyyah, they will end up falling into it. That is one of the signs of the hour for us, that the ignorance starts to become prevalent and the ilm start to disappear. And another narration, very beautiful one, of Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman, he said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, he described Islam, that it would become like worn out clothes. You know what the worn out clothes are? Like the things that you don't wear, the things that become tatty, old. Maybe it's just sitting inside the cupboard, you don't want to touch it anymore. Or something which is just, you've worn it so many times, been in a wash, in and out, ironed, it doesn't have any value anymore. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went on to say, he said there'll be people raised in this ummah who will not know what is salah. They will not know what is hajj. They will not know what is siyam. How can it be? How can it be there'll be people raised in this ummah, they don't know what is salah, they don't know what is siyam. You find many people like that nowadays. Allah knows best if we're close to that time now. When you say to someone, for example, salah is fard, I never knew that. Where did you learn your deen from? ABC Islam, he doesn't know ABC Islam. You tell him fasting is fard upon you, incumbent upon you to fast in the month of Ramadan. No one ever told me that. My parents never told me that. And in the hadith it went on to say that those same people who, they would not know the salah, they would not know the siyam. Those same people, they would turn around and say that we say la ilaha illallah. Why? Because we heard that our parents, they used to say la ilaha illallah. SubhanAllah. Those same people who don't know what is the deen, they don't know anything about Islam. And in the hadith it also described how in one night, the Quran, it will be taken up. The Quran, it will be taken up in one night until there will be no ayat upon this earth. And then one companion at that time, his name is Salah, he asked Hudayfa, he said, Ya Hudayfa, what good would la ilaha illallah do to these people? If the Quran has been taken up in one night, and they don't know what is salah, they don't know what is zakah, the Islam will become like worn out clothes, meaning it doesn't have no value, no significance whatsoever. What good would la ilaha illallah do? Hudayfa, he ignored the question of salah until he asked him again. He said, what good would la ilaha illallah do to them? He asked him a second time, what good would la ilaha illallah do for them? And then a third time he asked him, what good would la ilaha illallah do for him? Hudayfa, he replied, 3 times he repeated. 3 times he asked the question, salah, and Hudayfa, he replied 3 times. He said, La ilaha illallah, it would save them from the hellfire. La ilaha illallah, it would save them from the hellfire. La ilaha illallah, it would save them from the hellfire. Just to show you the emphasis, when we talk about the shahada, when we talk about tawheed, it is the decisive factor between somebody going to Jannah or Jahannam. That's why it's very important when we talk about akam al-takfir or nuwabit al-takfir to understand it's not a light topic. It is something which would decide whether a man become man of hellfire or man of paradise. Not for us though. We don't decide that matter. That is, we talk about the akam in relation to the akhirah. In relation to the akhirah, we leave that judgment to Allah, how Allah decides. But in relation to this life, it's important for us to understand this. Because high risk, in fact, of us falling into that. Not just a matter of us just studying takfir and studying about kufr and shirk without to understand that it could be that we could become kafir. Because the ayah said in Surah Al-Yusuf, verse 106, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما يؤمن أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون. Allah said, and most of those people who claim that they believe, Surah Al-Yusuf, Surah 12, verse 106, most of those people who say that they believe, in fact they would become mushrik. And we know from the other narrations which we gave in maybe the first or the second session, Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, what did he say? He said, وَكَفَرُوا وَحَيْثُ يَعْلَمُونَ. He said, the people, they become kafir without to even know. Those people before Nuh alayhi salam, they become kafir without to even know. How? By making the shirk. Meaning so easy for you to become a kafir. And so many narrations, we mentioned of this previously as well. When we studied Nawaqid al-Islam, we mentioned the hadith of Rasulullah, where he said a time will come when a man, he will wake up mu'min and go to bed as kafir. And he will go to sleep as a mu'min and wake up as a kafir, vice versa. And he will sell his deen by any cheap, miserable price of the dunya. Any money come to him, he sell his deen. Like today, people, you ask him, you say, why can't you talk about what's happening inside Libya? Why can't you talk about what's happening inside Egypt? On the minbar, he's talking about tawbah and forgiveness and al-maut, and he's talking about all of this. What about the affairs in the Muslim ummah? He's saying, make dua for Uncle Rafiq, he's broken his big toe. Make dua for Auntie Shana, she hasn't got enough masala for her fish. How's she going to make the biryani? SubhanAllah, people being killed inside Palestine, people being bombed inside Afghanistan. He doesn't want to bat an eyelid. People sell their deen for any miserable price of the dunya. So important for us to understand the shirk and the kufr, because so easy for us to fall into. And in fact, because the hadith told us so, that's enough for us to understand. But if you just comprehend for a moment, it's more easy for you to commit shirk than to drink alcohol and do zina. How can that be the case? How is it that it's more easier to do shirk than to commit zina or alcohol? Because to do zina is not easy. Obviously, I don't have experience, but I'm just telling you. But it's not that easy. First of all, you got to find a girl within the street, yeah? And they're mostly ugly in this country anyway, yeah? So you got to find a nice one, yeah? You got to eye her up, yeah? You got to check, maybe she's got everything there, she's got the engine, she's got the bodywork, everything, yeah? Then you got to go chat her up, so you got to have some good lines, you know what I mean? You got to have your swagger on and that, yeah? Then you got to get her digits, you got to get her number. Then you can't just do it in the middle of the street unless you're a dog, yeah? And if she's got any class about her, she'll say, no, let's go somewhere, isn't it? So then you got to find a hotel. Same thing, the man who wants to drink alcohol, or he wants to drink alcohol, you can't just drink alcohol just like that. First of all, you got to, make sure no one's looking. Your aunt is not looking, your uncle is not looking. Then you got to find the shop that sells alcohol. You got to make sure he doesn't know your mum. Then you got to make sure it's inside a paper bag. Then you got to find a corner where you can quickly do it. And then you got to get some air, freshener, whatever it is for your mouth, some chewing gum, yeah? Same thing with the drugs. You can't do drugs that easily. First you got to find someone who's selling something. You see, you get the point. So the shirk is much more easier to do. The shirk is so much easier to do because someone can say a word without to even realize. And a hadith of Rasulullah said that the man will say a word, he will say one word without to even realize its consequence, and he'll be dipped for 80 years within the hellfire. Just for one word. What about action somebody does willingly, like people we hear today nowadays? Zaki, we know this is haram, but what can we do? What do you mean what we can do? What you can do is not do it. You know what I mean? Aki, what can we do? At the end of the day, yeah, the BNP are going to come into power, so we must vote for the man-made law. We must vote. And like I told you, the analogy last week, as I told you, if for example now, you've got a choice between two pimps who are going to come in charge of the area, which one are you going to choose? The third one, which is the middle option, you don't do nothing. Who the hell told you you're under duress in the first place? Someone put a gun to your head and said, no, I must vote for the man-made law. Someone put a gun to my head, yeah, literally they're going to bomb us, and kick us out of the country. And at the same time, I want to get some interest and benefit out of it as well. This is what we call the coconut Islam. So, easy for us to commit the shirk. So, in order to move forward now with our studies, we've studied what is Iman, and we understood Iman in accordance to an understanding of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We understood the Iman in accordance to the Khawarij and the Murjiyah. Now we have to study the Kufr. And this is essential, because no way for us to know what is takfir without to know what to make the takfir on. We understood what is takfir. And what a takfir is, we said the process from taking somebody from camp of Islam inside the camp of kufr to identify somebody as a kafir and call him a kafir. How is that going to occur if you don't know where to make the takfir on? Our problem is, we know the area of where to make the takfir on. We already established that. Where's the area of takfir? on the saying, action and belief, on the area of iman, but what are the causes? Upon what will you make the takfeer? And this is what we need to lay a foundation for, to make this classification of the certain terms which are essential for us to know, such as kufr, shirk, and nifaq, in order for us to execute those particular terms. So the first thing which we're going to study is kufr. What is al-kufr? In the Arabic sense, in the Arabic meaning of kufr, it means to cover something up. To cover something up, or to wear a shield. Another description which you can say for the kufr, just the Arabic linguistic meaning of kufr, it is, for example, someone to take a seed and put it in the sand and to cover it up. That's why, incidentally, for your information, you know who is a kafir? The farmer. The farmer, he is a kafir, in the Arabic sense. Not literally we're calling him kafir, just in case somebody is a farmer and he's going to come after us with his fork and stab us up the backside. But the farmer, he's a kafir. Why? Because he covers something up. In the Sharia, however, we mean kufr is the opposite of iman. And that could mean to deny the ni'mah of Allah, to deny any of the blessings of Allah, or not to make shukr to Allah Azza wa Jal, or to become somebody who commits something called jahud. Jahud, or like we say the kafir, he is always somebody jahid, meaning he denies any of the blessings of Allah. So if we say now that the kufr is what takes somebody out of the millah of Islam, outside the camp of Islam, is that correct? It's correct, but it's not accurate. Why? Because, well, we are talking about kufr here and not ridda. There's a difference between the two. Somebody, we can say he's committing ridda, and somebody he could be committing kufr, but every ridda we say is kufr, but not every kufr is a ridda. Why? Because we make a distinction between the kuffar. When we say kafir, we say there are 2 or 3 types of kafir. First one is known as kafir asli, or kafir asliyin, the original kafir, like those ones next door, yeah? Jews and Christians, yeah? Then we have someone called the kafir mushrik. Those people who are also mentioned within the Quran, but they've been mentioned as mushrikeen. So you can put anybody in there. Hindus, Sikhs, Meeks, freaks, all of those guys, yeah? Then the third one, which is the most deadliest one, is the kafir murtad, the one who committed any of the nawaqid al-Islam. But what we're concentrating on right now is not just the ridda. We're talking about kufr in every sense. So, if we give another definition of the kufr, we say in a nice jami mane, comprehensive with unrestricted definition, we say the kufr is something which prevents a person to give him the attributes of Islam and its sanctity or immunity. The kufr is what prevents a person to give him the attributes of Islam and its sanctity or immunity. And also we need to mention that the difference between the kufr akbar and the kufr ridda, we say that this has different rules within this life, but it has the same destiny. Every kafir murtad will go to the hellfire. And anybody who commits the kufr akbar, if he's kafir asli, he will still go to the hellfire. But he has different ahkam within this life. For example now, somebody, kafir asli, he will pay me jizya, if I'm the caliph. Yeah? And I'll give him a slap on the back of the head, like Imam Shafi said. Now and then, when the kafir, he comes to pay the jizya, slap him on the back of the head to remind him that he's a kafir. Nice one to inject that one in there, yeah? But kafir murtad, he doesn't have that choice. Kafir, somebody Muslim can't say tomorrow, I feel like becoming a Sikh now. Can I pay the jizya? No. You pay another type of jizya. It's called you meet the sword. You execute this person. Obviously, that's under the Sharia. I'm not inciting you to do anything like that. Yeah? Ibn Taymiyyah, rahmahullah, he said, Al-Kufr is the absence of Iman and the nullification of Iman. That's Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahmahullah. Also, Imam Ibn Hazm al-Dahri, he said in a book called Al-Akam fi Asuli Akam, he said, Al-Kufr, or the one who commits the kufr, is the one who denied the matter, who Allah, He obliged us to believe in after we established the arguments or the proofs in front of Him, which He rejected by either heart, tongue, or action. He said that is kufr, the one who denied the matter. So that jahud that we were talking about, that denial or covering up, or the one who denied the matter, who Allah, He obliged us to believe in after we established the arguments, the proofs in front of Him, meaning we gave Him the hujjah, which He rejected either by the heart or the tongue or the limbs. That is kufr. So you can see the ulama, when they spoke about kufr, they spoke about the kufr just like the way they talk about iman. Why? Because they say the kufr, it can occur on all three: saying, tongue, and action. And let me give you the evidences now for all three of them. We know the evidences for the iman on the heart, tongue and the limbs. Where is the evidence that the kufr can occur on the qawlun wa amalun wa i'tiqad, on the saying and action and a belief? The first evidence for the kufr to occur on the tongue is in Surah Al-Kahf, verse 35 to 42. This is a proof for you to show you how kufr can occur on the tongue. And in this ayah, these number of ayahs, this discusses about a debate between two people and a garden. And it describes how one man, how he entered the garden, and how Allah Azza wa Jal, he said this man, he was unjust to himself. He done dhulm upon himself. Why? Because he said the word of kufr. What did he say? He said, I do not think that this garden, it will perish ever. And I do not think that the hour, Yawmul Qiyamah, it will ever come. And even if I should be brought back to my Lord, I will surely find better than this as a return. That was a word of kufr. What was the kufr that he done? He denied, he made the jahood, that the hour, the Yawmul Qiyamah, it will come. Yeah? And he said, I don't think that this garden, it will ever perish. Yeah? And his companion, who the muwahhid, the one who was discussing with him, he said to him, have you disbelieved in he who created you from dust, and then from a sperm drop, and then proportioned you as a man? He said, but as for me, compared to you, Allah, He is my Rabb, my Lord, and I do not associate with my Lord anybody. So that is the first evidence where kufr can occur on the tongue. The second one is in Surah Ma'idah, verse 17. And this one, it describes the Nasara, the Christians. Allah said in Surah Ma'idah, verse number 17, that they have certainly disbelieved those people who say Allah, He is Isa ibn Maryam. Those people who say that Isa alayhi salam, He is Allah. Those people, they are kafir. So what was the kufr here? The kufr on the tongue. They said it by their tongue. So this is a proof for you that kufr can occur on the tongue. And also another ayah, Surah At-Tawbah, verse number 74. Surah At-Tawbah 74, this is one of the last, I believe, I'm not sure how big Surah At-Tawbah is, but it's in the middle or towards the end. Surah At-Tawbah verse 74, this describes the munafiqeen and the kuffar. Allah said, they swear by Allah that they did not say anything against the Nabi, whilst they had said the word of disbelief. So you see again, qawlun, they said the word of disbelief, and they disbelieved after their pretense of Islam, and planned that which they were not to attain. And they were not resentful, except for the fact that Allah and His Messenger had enriched them of His bounty. So let's talk about those people who had iman, and then they become kafir. And how did they become kafir? By saying the word of kufr. Let's talk about the munafiqeen and the kufr, munafiqeen and the kuffar. So what is the evidences now for the kufr to occur on the heart, on the kufr i'tiqadi? Because Allah, He described that the kufr, it can occur on the heart as well. And now two ayahs in relation to this, and the first one is Surah Al-Munafiqun, which is Surah 62, verse number 1. In this verse, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, when the munafiqeen, when they come to you, O Muhammad, Ya Rasul, O Rasulullah, they testify that you are the messenger of Allah, and Allah knows that you are His messenger, but Allah testifies that they are the hypocrites, and that they are the liars. So what was the attribute of the munafiqeen which we gave? How do we know what is a munafiq? How do we describe the munafiq? He has which type of action? Imanic action. But what does he conceal? Kufr. So this is exactly what the ayah described. Also Surah Al-Hujurat, verse number 15. Allah said the believers are the only ones who have believed in Allah and His Messenger, and then they don't doubt, and they strive with their properties and their lives in the cause of Allah. It is those who are the truthful. And obviously the opposite of that is what? Those people who don't believe and they don't strive. Meaning if they had belief, they would have to lazim with their action. So the opposite of that is disbelief. So disbelief we're just trying to show you here that how the disbelief, it can occur on the heart as well. Even though we don't judge the heart, that's an individual matter between you and your Lord, unless the person, he testifies by his tongue. So it could be someone commits the kufr by the heart. Yeah? But I don't know what's inside your heart. Until he doesn't manifest on his tongue, until he doesn't say by his tongue, I won't know. But that judgment on the heart is between him and Allah, unless he professes it on the tongue. Where is the evidence that the kufr, it can occur on kufr al-amali, on the kufr of the actions? And this one, we have an ayah, Surah At-Tawbah again, a deadly surah, also known as Surah Al-Bara, obviously. Surah At-Tawbah, verse number 64. This ayah, it spoke about, it asked the question, say, was it Allah and His ayat and His messenger that you are mocking? Make no excuse. Verily you have disbelieved after you had belief. What was this ayah about? We mentioned this before, but it's been described that by Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar, he mentioned that after the battle of Tabuk, when the Sahaba, when they came back, there was one man who rose up and he said, have you seen these people? These people, they don't even recite properly. When they recite like dogs. A'udhu billah. They were talking about the Sahaba. They were mocking the companions. And we never seen people who were so greedy, they got such big bellies. They started mocking the companions. Auf bin Malik, he was a young man, he rose and he said, you are a liar and you are a munafiq as well. You see, very easy. Now I see the nifaq on your tongue now. I didn't know what's inside your heart. Now I call you a liar, I call you a munafiq. He said, I'm going to go and tell the Nabi. Nice, somebody's going to report, intelligence services we got in the Islamic State. However, Rasulullah, he'd already been informed about this. Wahi come down and informed Rasulullah. When the munafiq, when he approached Rasulullah, they said, we were only joking. We were just passing the time. What was the kufr that they committed? Something known as kufr istihza. Kufr istihza is the kufr of the mocking. They said we were laughing, we were joking. This ayah being revealed, Surah At-Tawbah, verse 64. And then what happened was that a camel came. A camel came, and Rasulullah, this is the camel of Rasulullah, and this man, he was being dragged in the streets and he was being beaten. Abdullah ibn Umar, he said, it's like as if I could see him right now. He kept repeating the same words. We were only joking, and his legs were completely battered in the sand, holding onto the saddle of the camel of Rasulullah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he kept repeating this ayah, Surah At-Tawbah, verse number 64. Was it Allah, His ayat, His messenger, that you are mocking? Make no excuse, you have disbelieved after you have believed. Adi ibn Hatim, he said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, during this particular incident, he said he did not even look at him. He did not even look at this person, and he didn't say anything else. What did Rasulullah do? He judged by the apparent. He didn't look to the intention, because we always say that the saying and the action, it is a gateway to somebody's heart. Yeah? And how do you judge someone's heart? How can you judge someone's heart? You can't judge someone's heart unless you're somebody called Dr. Doolittle. If you know Dr. Doolittle, he opens up the hearts of the animals and he checks them out, and the animals talk to him as well. But he's a kafir anyway, yeah? So we're not going to mess about with that too much anyway, yeah? Oh, mashallah, that's good. Another verse, Surah Al-An'am, verse 162 to 163. Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. Allah said, verily, indeed my prayer, my sacrifice, my living and my dying are all for the sake of Allah, the Lord of the worlds. So, verse 162 to 163. Surah Al-An'am, verse 162, 1 to 163. So here, what does this ayah describe to us? That the ibadah is on everything. On everything which Allah has described to us, meaning from everything, from the transaction, from the economic system, to the social system, to the life, to the hayat, to the maut, to the salah, everything, whether it is a ritual act, that is all ibadah. Anybody who offers any of these now to somebody else now, for example, somebody's going to slaughter a sheep now, not in the name of Allah, he's not going to say Bismillah Allah Akbar, but he's going to say Bismillah Tony Blair. Yeah? He's going to slaughter a sheep now for Tony Blair, that become Shirk al-Akbar. He made a dabeh, he made the slaughter for the sake of somebody else. That is something which would take him outside the fold of Islam, on the actions. So that's just, there's many other ayahs, but I cut this down, because I want to make this session very comprehensive, so you understand this. The thing that which you need to understand now is, what is Kufr Akbar? What is Kufr Akbar? And we need to discuss what is Kufr Asghar. And here, I will just take this off for a moment. Just grab my pens. And we will describe to you Kufr Akbar. That's all good. Kufr Akbar, we describe it as anything which leads a person to the hellfire Kufr Akbar. Yeah? What is Kufr Akbar? That anything which leads a person to the hellfire forever, that Allah will never forgive him on the day of judgment. Yeah? Is anything, Kufr Akbar is anything which leads a person to the hellfire, which Allah will never forgive him on the day of judgment. Yeah? And there are 5 types of Kufr Akbar, or 5 areas where the Kufr Akbar will occur. You can call this a division, you can call this a classification. English linguist, I don't play around too much, I'm not the highly educated. Yeah? But the first one is known as kufr takzib, yeah, which is to disbelieve. To disbelieve. The next one is known as kufr al-shak. These are the 5 major types of kufr, or areas of kufr, which people discuss. If you buy any good book of Aqidah, and there's many good books out there which you can buy, any good book of Aqidah, when it discusses kufr, they will discuss these 5 areas. Any book of Kitab al-Tawheed, by any good Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah scholar, he will discuss these 5 matters. Kufr takzib, to disbelieve. The kufr of al-shak, which is to have conjecture or to doubt. The third one is kufr irad, to turn your back on the deen. The fourth is kufr of shirk, to associate partners. And the fifth is known as nifaq, hypocrisy. Yeah? Obviously, when we talk about shirk and nifaq and kufr, we always say that they can have akbar and asgar. And I'm going to give you examples of something which is kufr akbar. Give you many examples of kufr akbar, just so you can comprehend, and then we'll discuss the different types of kufr, and there's about the different branches of kufr, which is about 19 different branches of kufr, and I'll give you all the Arabic terms which you need to know in relation to that. So let me give you about, how many points have I got here now? I've got 22 examples of kufr akbar, yeah? And any one of these would fall into any 5 of those, yeah? I don't want to classify them all too much, yeah? Because they're all pretty self-explanatory, but shirk, as you know, we're going to discuss that in detail in the next session, and that's basically talking about associating partners with Allah. Kufr, as I already mentioned, you know what that is. And nifaq, we'll discuss that in a little bit as well. So let me give you some examples of kufr akbar. The first of them is known as calling, or you can say calling for secularism. Calling for secularism, that is kufr akbar. And when we say calling for secularism, what do we mean? What is secularism? Secularism, it is known as ilmaniya. If I always like to put people on the spot, so I will put Brother Farhan on the spot, yeah? If you could give me a good definition of secularism, how would you describe secularism?
It's the separation between state and religion. So
Exactly.
Between me and dunya.
That's right. Separating Islam from life's affairs, which was who done that in the first place, was the Christians in this country. Right? When you had the introduction of democracy, before that, they used to believe that the ulama from the Christians used to give the fatwa. Democracy was something which they implemented from the Greeks, which was demokratos. It comes from the root word demokratos, where they said the majority, everyone can't just make up their own law, we're going to have complete chaos. So the majority will elect one person, and he will choose a law and order. Incidentally, that never worked out for the Greeks. It never worked out for the Greeks because of complete chaos. Yeah? So then after, when the people here, the kings, they used to rob the people, they used to have certain taxes. They even used to have a window tax. If you want to have a window, you've got to have a tax in this country. If you want to go to a toilet or break wind, you've got to pay money for that. All sorts of different crazy things. When that chaos was going on, and the kings used to oppress the people, they used to justify their oppression, their dhulm upon the people, and they said, look, we got fatwa from the clergy within the church. When the rebellion happened and people wanted a separation of that, that's when democracy started to become introduced within Western Europe. So you can see there's a whole history with regards to that. But what all that was a separation, as the brother said, of church from state. Secularism, it does not exist. It cannot exist when it comes to Islam. You cannot make a separation between belief and Sharia. And this is one of the root causes for why our lands are completely upside down. Why is it we've got people who want to uprise now and overthrow regimes? Because there's a complete separation from Aqidah, from Sharia. There's a complete separation of Islam from life's affairs. Yeah, people, they say Islam, now, like even in our own countries, if you go Pakistan for example, they say, deen idhar hai, dunya udhar hai. You keep the deen inside the masjid, but when you go out into society, you don't obey Allah. You say Allah Akbar inside the home, but outside in society you say, or you don't say it, but you behave as if Allah al-Askar. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Astaghfirullah, yeah? But this is how people, they behave. You don't have no Sharia whatsoever. Complete separation of Islam from life's affairs. And man, he decides of what is going to happen. Man is going to decide what we need to do. And this is why you can find, sadly, have you ever thought of the question that why is it many people, they rally behind the cause of Palestine? If you think about it, why aren't people demonstrating the way they demonstrate about Palestine for Iraq? I know people do demonstrations for Iraq and Afghanistan, but I'm talking about kuffar, I'm talking about here, or those people supposed to be sympathetic. You know why? The only reason they do demonstrations for Iraq and Afghanistan is because they're getting killed over there. So they say, bring our boys home. And when it comes to Palestine, when they demonstrate, there's none of their boys there. So what are they demonstrating for? Human rights. Because there is no call, sadly, inside Palestine for an ideology of Sharia to be implemented on a state level. That's what it boils down to. Why don't you see people coming out and demonstrating for the human rights of the Taliban or the Mujahideen? No one will do that. Why? Because root cause, the driving force behind all actions, we say is Aqidah. And when the Aqidah is based on kufr with Taghut, we don't accept democracy, we don't accept United Nations resolution, and we want Islam to be implemented on a state level, and authority to be in the hands of the Ummah, that's where you will see the world is divided into two camps. Camp of Iman and camp of Kufr. So secularism, that is completely Kufr Akbar. We say before Islam was complete Jahiliyyah. That's exactly what the Quraysh they used to do. They never had a problem with believing in Allah. They say Allah Al-Halik. Allah is the Rabb. Rububiyyah, in the area of Rububiyyah, they never had a problem. But when it comes to Ibadah, they used to refer to the idols. Lat, Uzza, Suwa, Yaguth. They used to refer to the idols. They used to mix the idols up like that. Choose whether they're going to buy, whether they're going to sell. Allah had no say whatsoever inside their life's affairs. So we don't want that type of jahiliyyah in the past. To call for that is to separate the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal, where we believe He has particular names, attributes and functions, and they're exclusively for Him alone. When you start to say now man he has al-hakam al-adl, or man has the right to share in the legislation of Allah, that is calling for secularism, and that is kufr akbar. The second one is very similar to this, but it is the one who thinks that man-made law is better or similar to Islam, or thinks that Islam is old-fashioned and is not something suitable for our time. So anybody who says that, look, what do we need Islam for nowadays? We got democracy, bureaucracy, and people, they like to dazzle these terms, and because of our own ignorance, because Rasulullah said, my ummah is an illiterate ummah. This is a hadith of Rasulullah. He said, my ummah is an illiterate ummah. He said, when you see the moon, start to fast. None of this business like, Yaki, we don't need to wait for the moon to be sighted. We got satellite dish now. So let us just calculate for the next 15 years when it's going to be Ramadan in 2020 or whatever. Forget all of that. No, Rasulullah said we are literate ummah, meaning not that we're stupid or anything like that, but we've got Bedouin background, you can say. Yeah, we follow the Sharia. Wherever the Sharia orders us to do, the way it follows us to do it, we do it. Anybody who starts to say now the man-made law is better, that is kufr akbar. Or people who start to say Sharia is backward, old-fashioned. What do we need it for now? And how many people do you find like that nowadays? What's all this issue about? Free mixing, and you can't have free mixing and all this and that. She's your cousin, Shazia. Why can't you just have a nice wedding with her, and I'll invite all the uncles, and someone's going to hide the shoes, and they have all these type of traditions and that. You don't see all this rubbish, yeah? Someone's going to hide the shoes, you got to pay £100. I remember one brother telling me about this. He goes, come to my wedding, I ain't going to come to your wedding. He goes, we're going to have a DJ there. I go, so you're the brother, you're the one who's getting married, why can't you put your foot down and say, look, I don't want no DJ there? He goes, yeah, but Aki, what do you mean Aki? Forget all the Aki business now, yeah? Aki doesn't make a difference to me now. Aki ain't going to come to your Aki's wedding, yeah? Because you, Aki, you're doing haram, you're going to have complete. He goes, yeah, they got some tradition. Someone hides the shoes and you got to pay them £100 for it. I go, what? Someone takes your shoes, you got to pay them £100. After I take their shoes and I take their £100, you know what I mean, yeah? This is all this bakwas, you know what I mean, yeah? And all this, funky traditions that people, they have, yeah? But people, they start to say that. They say, oh, you people are backward, you know what I mean? Or you just want to go back to the time of the Prophet. Well, who else, innit? You said your name is Ahmed, my name is Muhammad. Who else we want to follow, innit? We don't want to follow the Sharia of Rasulullah. What's wrong? This is a Sikh, Ahlul Kitab. He's going to come there and he's going to do a dole for us. He's going to do a dance and all this type of business. It is completely crazy. Number 3, the one who thinks that the deen, the only part of the deen is just salah or just siyam, zakah and hajj, but not trading. So anybody who, again, he makes a secularism, or the secularization of the deen. He secularizes the deen just to one particular act. He says, Islam is just about salah. Oh, namaz hai bas. Aur kuch nahi hai sharia cha. Ek hi sharia hai. What do you mean that you have to look at halal meat? What do you mean? Just say Bismillah, innit? Doesn't matter, innit? It doesn't make a difference, innit? What are you going to do all of that for? What are you going to worry about all of this and that? Yo, haji ban gaya, namazi ban gaya, innit? They use these type of terms. The one who prays 5 times a day, he becomes namazi. The one who done Hajj, as if he done something big in the first place, he has to change the whole name of his shop. Haji Baba. Yeah? He has to, Haji Saris. You know what I mean? Haji Chemist. We know you done Hajj, yeah? But what are you going to tell us for now? For the rest of his life, Yaki, I done Hajj. But right now, what are you doing? Right now, I'm working for the MI5. Yeah? I'm an imam for the MI5, and I'm working, and I'm a constable, and I'm selling alcohol within the shop. A'udhu billah. People, how they completely got it upside down. Just a little bit Arabic, just a little bit of this. It makes everything halal. You walk into some shops. You walk inside there, you think, okay, I just want to go get my oyster topped up, or I just go get a Twix, yeah? You go in there, Bismillah, Allah Akbar, you got the Fatiha there, Surah Al-Hujurat over there, Surah Ikhlas over there. One side of the wall, boom, full, every type of alcohol. Even like you ask him, you say, what's that over there? Because I don't even know, it's imported from some next country, from Poland or Polski or somewhere like that, yeah? Other side, you got complete porno magazines. Who the hell told you that you're allowed to do that? In the first place, we say anything which is haram to do, haram to consume, for greater reason is haram for us not to trade with. Why? Because the ayah said, stay away from the hamr. It never said, don't drink the alcohol. Like people say today, but wait, you can't drink the alcohol because it makes you drunk, because you don't want to go to the prayer drunk. So therefore you can drink enough so you don't get drunk. That's nice, isn't it? Might as well start having pork as well while you're out here as well. After that, everything becomes halal, isn't it? People become completely upside down. Number 4, this one, I come across people like this. The one who believes that you can become a Jew or Christian or Hindu or Sikh at any time, even if it's for one day. I met people like this. Someone said to me, I said to him, look, mortgage is not allowed. After I hammered him and all the issues about mortgage and stuff like that, he goes, Aki, I've got a solution. Aki again, I don't know, this Aki's become abused, yeah? He goes, I'll become kafir for one day on a Friday, get the mortgage and take my shahada on a Saturday. Are you completely upside down? What planet are you living on, honestly? For God's sakes, man. People are completely upside down. Number 5, the fifth example of Kufr Akbar is somebody who hates the deen. What do I mean hates the deen? There's difference between somebody who dislikes a hukum, or dislikes, the difficulty that comes with a particular hukum, and somebody who hates the deen. For example, mashallah, you got a beautiful lahiyah, like all of us, yeah? But you might dislike the difficulty sometimes that comes with it. I always get tangled, I always lose hairs. There's no problem with that. But when someone says, for example now, why the hell did we have to be obliged, to have the beard? Or what's all this business about praying 5 times a day? 5 times a day? Why can't it just be once a week or something like that? Why can't we just do it on a Sunday? That is Kufr Akbar. To hate any hukum from the deen, anything which is known from the deen by necessity, that is Kufr Akbar. That would take you outside the fold of Islam. Number 6 is fighting the deen. Anybody who fights the deen. And what do we mean by fighting the deen? We mean fighting the deen as in working against Islam, prevent scheme, working with the Quilliam Foundation, working to try and expose Islam, or to show that Islam is not like this, or Islam is not like that, or trying to, even indirectly, somebody could be doing it sincerely even as well, yeah, saying, look, I just want to give a good image to Islam, but he's working with the kuffar and trying to propagate this so-called peaceful version of Islam. And then in turn, he's thinking, well, what I want to do is I want to just give a good image of Islam. So to give a good image of Islam and invite them to Islam, I will invite all the counter-terrorism command and give them a conference about the real fruits of Islam and how extremism is wrong and how jihad is wrong and Sharia is wrong. SubhanAllah. And you see many people like that nowadays, like this fool, Tawfiq Chaudhry, went all the way to Wales, with the Muslim Council of Wales, done a conference there for the whole MI5 and all the police, saying that you people should be using us, the ulama, us, the scholars. We have the inside information. We're the ones who have closeness to the youth, and we're the ones who can really get to them. We can become like the middle fish, so to speak, the bait, so to speak, yeah, and we'll catch the fish and reel them in. SubhanAllah, become like that. People fighting against the deen, and even, for example, we hear many brothers, sadly, they become arrested, they get raided nowadays, and afterwards you find out, when you complain to the police, I remember there was some brothers, they got raided in north of England, for no reason whatsoever. Their police knew about them. When I mean knew about them, the police used to visit them every other week on the dawah stall, and used to take their leaflets. They knew about everything about them, all their activities. It's open and public. That's just like us. We don't have nothing to hide. We're not terrorists underneath the table or nothing like that. We're terrorists above the table. No, but we're not nothing like that. Nothing like that at all, yeah? Nothing to hide whatsoever. So transparent. Still they raided those brothers at 6 in the morning, took away their cars, took away everything. Afterwards, the whole raid that took place on their properties cost the police, or cost the taxpayer, yeah, £85,000. £85,000 those raids took. When they done those raids, they even produced CDs about why the raids took place, yeah, on the day of the raid, and posted them for all the next door neighbours, just to add it in a little bit more, create this type of, atmosphere of fear. And afterwards, when the brothers, they complained and they said, look, why we've been raided, it's completely unjust. They said, look, don't complain to us. You've got to go to that Borelli mosque down the road. They're the ones who reported you, and they're the ones who told us about you. So people who fight against the deen, when we mean fight against the deen, this is exactly what you're doing. It's not a matter of you fighting against an individual now, yeah? It's a matter of you having a problem with him propagating the haqq, and now you want to try and dismantle that, or try to wipe out the nur of Allah, as the ayah described, then you have committed the kufr akbar. Number 7, it is mocking the deen. So anybody who mocks the deen, that is kufr akbar. before I just explain this one, I should have mentioned, is the whole reason why we're studying this here, is later on when we go through the preventions of takfeer and we understand the process of on who we're gonna make the takfeer on, we can't do that unless we know the areas of kufr akbar. Otherwise, when we, like, our last topic will be, or more or less towards the end of this course, we'll be discussing why the rulers are kafir. If I say to you at that time, is that bird or something? Okay. If I say to you, for example, the rulers, they mock the deen, yeah, or they make istihlal, those terms, they won't mean anything to you unless you understand this topic. So that's why I just thought I'd mention that. Mocking the deen, this is known as kufr istiza. What's mocking the deen? Meaning, for example, to say, why you go, look at this man, he's praying, yeah, but he's actually, trying to lose weight. Or look at her, he's got a beard, he can't afford a razor or something like that, he can't shave. It happened to me so many times, uncles and that, they always say to me all the time, they say to my mum, look, if he hasn't got a job, then we'll pay, for a razor, and he can help him, with his hairy problem. What are you talking about? I'll give you the razor, yeah, and then after that, you won't have no choice but to grow the beard. You know what I mean? Carve you up, mate. Yeah. So mocking the deen, mocking any aspect of the deen, even if it's by joke, that is known as kufr istiza, and we mentioned the ayah in relation to that. Number 8, rejecting any of Allah's commands, such as rejecting the hijab or free mixing is haram, because it is known from the deen by necessity. So saying, I'm not going to pray, or a better example is, I'm not going to fast. I accept the whole of Islam, but this aspect of Islam, I can't. Otherwise, it's difficult sometimes when you meet someone and you give him dawah, and he, as I say, reverts or converts to Islam. If it's before Ramadan, that's tough, because now he's really going to be put to the test. Usually people, when they come to the deen, they got a lot they got to give up. Girlfriend, smoking, drinking. Now you're going to tell him, right, you ain't going to eat for 30 days. What? Forget it. I'll wait 30 days and I'll take my shahada. No. Do it then. You see, that's the best time as well. The shaitan be further away. So don't ever have this delaying the deen. Anybody who rejects any of the commandments of Allah, like the hijab, free mixing, etc., that is kufr akbar. Anybody who, number 9, similar to this, to deny hukum of, for example, of having a beard, deny any particular hukum, any individual hukum, that is kufr akbar. Number 10, the one who doesn't understand the meaning of la ilaha illallah. And this is a very, very deadly one. Yeah, this person, we say he is not a Muslim, because the Quraysh, they used to say the same thing. They used to say la ilaha illallah without to understand it, but they used to use the idols to intercede on their behalf. So you need to know it, you need to believe in it, and you need to act upon it. You need to know about the shahada in terms of his rukunayn, about his sharud, about his nawaqid, about his pillars, about his conditions, and about his negations. Yeah, so you can't be somebody who just says la ilaha illallah. What does it mean? I don't know. You're not a Muslim yet. Wait until you know the meaning. Obviously, this is a dangerous one, because someone will ask the question now, but everybody in my family, they don't know what la ilaha illallah mean. La ilaha illallah, it doesn't mean. Are they kafir? You want to assess every individual person. It could be somebody, maybe he's just being given some false interpretation, or maybe he means what you mean, but just his wording might be different. So for example, when someone might just say there's one God, obviously we know, if we go into the details of la ilaha illallah, we know what it means. Kufr bit-taghut wal imanu billah, to reject anything followed, obeyed or worshipped, and then to believe in Allah. Maybe he doesn't say it in that wording, but he means the same thing. Nevertheless, people need to know about la ilaha illallah. Number 11, to turn your back to Islam, not studying it, acting or caring about it. What do we mean by that? Meaning, somebody who's not a practicing Muslim. Yeah, we call this one a non-practicing Muslim. The term itself is stupid and it's ridiculous, and it doesn't make any sense. To say that you're non-practicing, how can you be a non-practicing Muslim? Because what does Muslim mean? Muslim means the one who submits himself. So how can you be somebody who, I'm non-practicing submitter? And I believe one of our biggest problems in the West when it comes to our dawah, one of our biggest failures has been, as an entire community within the West, is we never explain to the non-Muslim what does the term Muslim mean. Seriously. We describe Islam as peace, yeah, and Muslim as just Muslim. Muslim doesn't mean anything. How about describing Muslim as what it really means? That's why next time you meet somebody kafir, when he asks you, what's your religion? Muslim, he'll say, oh, Muslim, oh, like Jews, like Christians. No, Muslim is different. Change it, say, I'm from the religion called the submitters. Trust me, you'll have such a whole huge different impact on him. Submitter, yeah. What does that mean? He goes, well, basically, if I want to eat ice cream, I want to find out if that's allowed or not allowed. That's submitting. If I pray 5 times a day, it's because my Lord, He ordered me to do. Submitting. Kafir, he won't have a problem with that then. If you explain it to him like that, he understands. And even from a rational perspective, maybe he'll be able to comprehend that, and maybe even embrace Islam. It's a very simple equation. I believe I was created by Rabb, by my Lord, who is the same as your Lord, he created you, and his right above me is that I worship him. That's not such a simple idea to comprehend. Like you say to somebody, you've got a son, yeah, you're his dad, therefore your son should obey you. Who else is he going to obey? Somebody else's dad. That doesn't make any sense. But you're doing that all the time. Why? Because you don't know who your dad is. You're obeying everybody else's dad because you don't know who your dad is. You don't even know who your mum is. It's completely upside down. That's why one brother at a demonstration once, he had an argument with a police officer. The police officer said to him, you look a little bit upset. He goes, I'm not upset, I'm happy. He goes, the problem is in this society, people go all over the place. They go with each other's best friends and all this sort of business, yeah? People don't know who their own dad is. And he goes, yeah, well, me, there's a police officer. He goes, I know who my dad is. He goes, who's that then? The postman? Yeah, or the milkman, yeah. My brother got arrested for that. But anyway, when the brother was getting arrested, they said, all right, that's it, you're getting nicked now, yeah? Oh, fair enough, I'm getting arrested. Demonstration hasn't started now, yeah? We're just at a demonstration. It's outside the Saudi embassy, I remember. This is Abu Yahya, by the way. And I think Abu Izzadeen, they started questioning as well. And they said to him, right, sir, name, address, details. And what do you call that? What's that costume called? Costume? You know, obviously, Abu Izzadeen, a bit tough, innit? He goes, this is what you call a suicide bomber's outfit. So he really teased them, you know what I mean? But they arrested Abu Yahya. So I never saw him at the demo. I was like, where's he gone? Abu Izzadeen, Abu Yahya disappeared. He ended up in the police station. So, where were we? What point was that? Number 11. Number 12. Anybody who leaves the salah completely. Tarka salat, to anybody who abandons the salah, even if he left it intentionally, even one salah, he is a kafir and he must make tawbah. Yeah? Anybody who abandons the salah, that is an act of kufr. And there's a hadith in relation to this, or saying of the Sahabi, I believe, they said, we never considered anything to be the kufr except tarka salat, except to abandon the salah. So salah is not something that you can leave. Yeah? And that is the first thing that you'll be asked about on Yawm al-Qiyamah. The salah is intact and solid, you'll be asked about your other deeds. If the salah is not there, you might as well forget it. Yeah? Number 13 is the one who makes takfeer for any of the Sahaba. And this one, a lot of people, whenever I speak about this one, they always have difficulty. Brother Farhan, you probably remember we studied this about Usul al-Salafiyah. Do you remember the series I was going through in my flat before? And we done a whole session on this, so we gave so many narrations about this. So many sayings of about the ulama, from Imam Malik, Imam Abu Hanifa. There is ijma' and consensus upon this. Anybody who calls a sahabi a kafir, then he becomes a kafir. That is kufr akbar. How are we doing for the time? About 4 more minutes, yeah? Then we'll break, inshallah. Okay, number 14. This is a good one. I like this one. I like this one the most. The one who doesn't call the Jew or Christian a kafir, or doubts that he's a kafir, he becomes a kafir. Anybody who doesn't call the Jew or Christian a kafir, then he becomes a kafir. And we gave ample narrations in regards to this previously as well in the Nawaqid al-Islam course. We said Imam Shafi said, anybody who doubts the kufr of the Yahud or Nasara, just doubts them, then he becomes a kafir. Otherwise, what are they then, if they're not kafir? Mu'min? No. Potential Muslim. They're potential Muslim, then what does that make you and me then? We're potential kafir then. Make a potential Muslim. Yeah, we know one day, inshallah, they will be, but everybody is a potential Muslim. But right now, what is he? He's upon kufr. People, again, problem of definitions. If we understand terms correctly, we won't have a situation like this. Problem is nowadays, you say to somebody, Aki, this person is kafir. Astaghfirullah. Don't say this word kafir. He doesn't understand. Kafir, look, even if you explain to a kafir, he won't get offended by this. Kafir doesn't mean infidel. Infidel is a different term altogether. Infidel is what the Jews they'll use to describe us as the goin, as they call it the goin, yeah? Yeah, but the word kafir is very simple to understand. The one who doesn't believe in Allah and His Messenger. Honestly, I remember Sheikh Umar once, he was on a talk show once with this guy called James Whale on TalkSport Radio or something like that. And he's saying to him, look, before we, go into the whole conversation, the discussion we're going to have, let's just lay down a couple of terms. When I say kafir, that means the one who doesn't believe in Allah and His Messenger. It's not to belittle you or to defame you. It's just saying that is what your belief is. So this is Muslim, the one who believes in Allah, submits to Allah, and this is kafir. So James barely understood it. He said, so I am kafir, and you are Muslim. He goes, yeah, no, Muslim, not Muslim. He goes, okay, kafir, okay, you can call it that like that, yeah? And this one is Muslim. He goes, okay, no problem. Alhamdulillah, everybody's on terms. After half an hour, discussing about Surah Al-Fatiha and about the deen, about Tawheed, Wala, Bara, he gets some coconut. He rings up and he goes, I disagree with Mr. Bakri over there. He goes, James Well is not a kafir, he's a muwahid, he's Muslim, he's mu'min. What are you talking about? And James Whale is arguing back, he goes, no, I'm kafir. He's arguing. So you got the coconut and the kafir, they argue. He's saying, no, you're mu'min. He goes, I'm not mu'min, I'm kafir, I'm kafir. The cleric, yeah, Mr. Bakri, yeah, he said that I'm a kafir, and you're telling me I'm Muslim. He goes, I'm not Muslim, I don't believe in Allah, I don't believe in the messenger. Yeah, so I'm kafir, I'm happy to be a kafir, I'm very good kafir. Yeah, people don't understand it. People, they argue, they say they can't call a kafir a kafir. Number 15. Okay, I'll do this one quickly. The one who allies with the kuffar, anyone who allies with the kuffar, loves them and accompanies them against the Muslims, that is kufr akbar. Yeah, and that is obviously two types of alliance that the person can have. One is known as al-muwalat, and that is kufr duna kufr, or kufr asgar, and the other one is known as tawalli. What do we mean by that? When we say kufr akbar and kufr asgar, we mean there's different degrees of kufr. Every kufr akbar takes you outside the fold of Islam. Kufr asgar, we say, is sin, it is haram. However, depending upon the level or the context in which you've done it on, or that particular action, it can lead to the kufr akbar. So for example, on this particular one, very good example now. Muwalat, allying with the kuffar, is not kufr akbar. Why? Because that could be, for example, somebody, he signs up with the army, and all he does is peel the potatoes. So he's made an alliance with them, he's took friendship with them, but not the friendship which takes him outside the fold of Islam. What is the friendship that takes him outside the fold of Islam, or the alliance which takes him outside the fold of Islam? Is when he allies with them to harm another Muslim. That is known as tawalli. That is what takes somebody outside the fold of Islam. And important for you to know this, because this is what we're going to discuss when we go on to the topic of why the rulers, why the hukam, they are kuffar murtadeen. Because this is exactly what they do. They make tawalli. So those two terms you want to understand. Al-muwalat and al-tawalli. Alliance with the kuffar, which is kufr asgar, which could be peeling the potatoes, but the moment the person puts on the uniform and holds a weapon or does anything like that, where it's involved with directly fighting against Islam and the Muslims, that become the kufr akbar. That was point 15, and we'll break there for Salat al-Maghrib, and then we'll continue straight afterwards. If there's anything good I said, it's all from Allah. Any mistakes are all by my own. If I offended anybody, then that was my intention. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. We were discussing Kufr al-Akbar, and we discussed the different examples of Kufr al-Akbar, and the last point we finished was to make tawalli, alliance with the kuffar. And just to elaborate on that, you can see the manifestation of that so badly nowadays, where people, they want to put on the uniform of the Pakistani army or the American army and go and fight inside Iraq and Afghanistan and go and kill Muslims, rape Muslims, and assist the Americans in incarcerating so many brothers and sisters. So you can see huge implications when it comes to discussing this topic. We don't want to just study the Kufr Akbar just by way of theory. That's why we always, whenever we read the ayat, we always want to read the ayat the way Ali ibn Abu Talib, he described to us, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He said, whenever you read the ayat, the Quran, we read the ayah as if the ayah had just come down today. I mean, that is how we want to apply the reality. We don't want it to just become some theory, we just studied it once upon a time, like people we discuss with them. When it comes to the application of takfeer, when it comes to the application of kufr akbar or shirk akbar, mu'ayin on a particular individual, people say, Aki, don't tell me about this. I studied this 15 years ago inside university. Okay, so where's the manifestation of all of that nowadays? Otherwise you become like donkey carrying the books, and not to dispraise the donkey gets the reward. But what you're doing is something worse than the donkey, because at least the donkey has the knowledge. You have the knowledge, but you turn your back on it. You don't apply it. So number 16, the 16th example of the kufr akbar is to become a member of any kufr party. You see, you won't get this inside a book, will you? But I'll give this one to you. Yeah? To become a member of any kufr party, meaning which kind of party are we talking about? I'm not talking about the Stratford Rex. I'm not talking about Boy Better Know. I'm not talking about PDC. I'm talking about the party being the kufr parties which go inside the parliament and legislate law and order. Because what do they do inside the parliament? Yeah, like monkey. They don't go there and make love. They don't decide, okay, you know, what you're going to have. Are you going to have banana or are you going to have meat? No, they make istihlal, and they make istibdal as well. They make the haram halal, they make legislation, they comment above the law of Allah. In fact, the law of Allah doesn't have no place within the parliament. Dare people come out nowadays and say, Yaki, I know we can't vote, but this one is Muslim MP. Yeah, he is Muslim. He's living in the dark. He left his Islam long time ago. The moment he stood as a candidate, that became the kufr akbar for him. What the hell are you talking about? Inside the parliament, even if, my dear brothers, the law that they decide, even if it matches with Islam, it's still kufr. For example, tomorrow now, Tony Blair, or what was it, Dawood Kamroon, if he says tomorrow, Dawood Kamroon, yeah, that zina is not allowed now, yeah, does that mean he starts to get reward for it? No. Imam Shafi, he gave a good qawaid, a good principle. He said anything which goes against Islam, it is kufr. Whatever they do in the parliament is kufr. And anything that matches with Islam, it is still kufr. You know why? Because it's never based upon what Allah said, what the Messenger said. So never allowed to join any kufr party, whether in a Muslim country or kufr countries, kufr asli, darul kufr, asli, meaning the original domain of kufr where Islam was never an authority, let alone inside the Muslim countries. Like people like Hamas, they want to do. Go there and implement what? Democracy. These people are not mujahideen. These people are the ones who were killing people inside Masjid ibn Taymiyyah, I believe it was Masjid ibn Taymiyyah, inside Palestine, in Palestine. Killing Muslims who want to call for La ilaha illallah, and people who want to implement the Sharia. And same thing in many other countries as well. Many other places exactly the same thing. There was one group, they were questioned once. I'm not going to mention the group's name, but they operate somewhere in Kashmir. And they asked them, look, once you liberate Kashmir, what are you going to implement? They said, we'll figure it out when we get there. What do you mean figure it out? You ain't got no agenda. How you expect the barakah to happen? This is why when you read the books of people like Sheikh Abdullah Azam, rahmahullah, Allah give him the Jannah, Shaheed inshallah, when he left Palestine, why did he leave Palestine and go all the way to Afghanistan? Because he said when he saw them at night time, those people who were supposed to be mujahideen, playing cards and having drink and smoking and all this and that, when he asked them, what is the ideology behind this revolution? Yeah? They said, what did they say? They said, there's no ideology behind this revolution. That's why he left there and went to Afghanistan. That's why he always said, Afghanistan takes priority above Palestine. What? But Palestine, more people being killed and more than Afghanistan. Why Afghanistan is a priority? Because there's an ideology behind the struggle inside Afghanistan that they want to implement the Sharia. That's why you can see barakah within those lands. That is why we believe, as people who want to have itibah to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that is what gave the Mujahideen victory against the Russians in the 80s. Because they had proper wala and bara and proper understanding of al-kufr bit-ta'hut. Not to say now tomorrow, we'll kick the man out of power, whoever he is, and we're going to put another ta'hut in charge who's going to start implementing the kufr law. That's not the case at all. That is not the case at all. We don't do anything such thing. Number 17 is the shirk. And that's going to be another session. But the ayah said in the Quran, Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushrak bih. Allah said, Allah, He forgives anything less than shirk. But the shirk is to associate partners with Allah. Could be shirk as-sarf wal ataf. To associate a partner with Allah, meaning you believe Allah al-Khaliq, and so is Barack Obama. Or you commit shirk as-sarf wal ataf, or you take the attribute of Allah and direct it completely to somebody else. And you say Allah is not al-Khaliq, but you believe man, He is al-Khaliq. That is kufr akbar. Or you direct any of His names, attributes, functions or rights to somebody else, whether with or separate to Him. So that could be, for example, in the area of Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, you believe somebody's another Rabb instead of Allah. In the area of Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, any act of ibadah which is supposed to be for Allah, you direct it to somebody else, that is shirk. Or in His names and His attributes, you start to take, for example, that He is Al-Qadir, or He is Al-Razaq, or Al-Malik, or Al-Qudus, or Al-Wahid, and you give that to somebody else, that is shirk akbar. But I don't want to discuss that too much. That's session number 8. Number 18 is sihr, magic. That is kufr akbar. And here we don't talk about to trick people or anything like that, but we mean to seek help from the shayateen and the jinn. And anyone who teaches or practices the magic via the shayateen or the jinn, that person has committed kufr akbar. Yeah? And we find many people like that nowadays. You go and pick up the newspapers, especially in the Asian subcontinent, African subcontinent. You go anywhere in East London, North London, wherever you are, Muhammad from Nigeria is here. Yeah, and you give him £100 and he'll make sure that your wife, she'll be in love with you forever. Yeah, you're having difficulty finding, getting that bank loan. Don't worry, my jinn will come and help you to rob the bank, and you can get all the money and then you never have to pay it back as well. This is crazy. These type of people, they exist. Number 19, anyone who claims to have knowledge of the ghaib, that is kufr akbar, shirk akbar. For example, to read palms of people, yeah, or tea leaves, looking at the stars, or to look into someone's eyes and tell them something about him. And some people, they claim this sort of thing. I remember I met, I had, no, I don't want to say the privilege. What's the opposite of privilege? Unprivilege. Yeah, we add it to the English language. Yeah, I had the privilege of knowing someone when I was growing up. Yeah, obviously, 8 years old, you're a bit ignorant. And these people, this family, they actually believed they had these type of powers. They said, I can look into your eyes, and I can tell you when you're going to die, and I can look. They come inside your house and they look at your sofa or something, and they say, I can tell you how many children you're going to have. 3. Yeah, obviously it's a 3-seater, isn't it? That's a good guess, isn't it? Yeah. But they really believed in all this type of stuff, and fooling people. They used to fool people and make a lot of money. They say, you pay me £50 or £100 every month, and I'll ward off all the evil. And then you got to go get some mincemeat, and you got to say it in the name of this jinn or whatever, and you got to throw it inside the sea. And I know many families in this area used to go and do it just on the river, just up there, just not far from where you live. Yeah, people do that sort of stuff. Yeah, other families are. Now I'm talking about direct. This is first-hand experience I've got with this. Yeah, families are known. They've gone to the same people who are the peer or whoever it is, and they tell them basically, we can ward off this evil or this problem you're having with your son. You got to pay us £100, then you got to go home and you got to read Surah Ikhlas 120,000 times. Yeah, and people actually do that. They go home and they start getting the beads out, and they literally sit there 120,000 times. Yeah, and nothing ever happens. And I said, no, you don't mean it when you said it. Do it again, and pay me another £100 on top of that as well. All sorts of crazy stuff. All sorts of crazy stuff. So anybody who claims he has knowledge of the ghaib, reading the palm leaves, the palm leaves, people do that as well all the time. And I've seen that. I was in a bookshop just only a couple of weeks ago, in fact, just here locally. They call it the Indian Record House. It's a bookshop, yeah. The Indian Record. I was inside there, and there was some Arab or Turkish family. They walked in. They said, "You know where the astrologers are?" Auzu billah. What do you mean? They go, "Yeah, we heard. You can come down here. You can have your future. You can read your future tea leaves." This is obviously a load of bakwas. Or looking at the stars. People, they do that all the time. Every morning, I've got to wake up. I can't go to work until I read my horoscope, innit? I'm a Sagittarius or a Taurus. Yeah, you're going to meet somebody very special today. And all day that plays on their mind. I'm going to meet somebody very special today. And he looks for someone to meet then, innit? You know what I mean? It just plays on his mind, yeah? That dictates everything for him, innit? Today's going to be a very bad day. I'm not coming into work today. Why not? The horoscope said so. People are completely mad like that, you see. Anyone who claims to have knowledge of the unseen, anyone claims that he can cure the one who has no children by doing something for them. Again, that's kufr akbar. So many people do that. I remember, oh God, it's all in my family, in fact, as well. There was one of my aunts, in fact, they said, we've got a pillowcase, which has touched one of the hairs of Rasulullah. And if you put this on your pillow and go to sleep, you'll get married and you have children. And you know what happens? She's still not married. She's still sitting there, not married, no children. And then periods are just making money. Or you have the other side of it as well, where people, they say, look, when I want to get married, I want to do istikhara. And istikhara is to pray the 2 rak'ah, and then you have you ask Allah, look, guide me towards that which is good for my deen. So it's to help you decide. That could be in anything, not just in marriage. It could be in business. It could be, for example, go wherever, go here, there, wherever it is. You make istikhara, and you go with your gut feeling. Yeah, it's not a matter of this idea which the Barelvis have here. You go to sleep and you're going to have a dream about it. If everything was that simple, I'll start doing that all day long, isn't it? Should I get married to her? Should I not get married to her? Should I buy this? Should I not buy that? Is that kebab going to be good for me or not? Let me go to sleep. Wake up. Yeah, it's very good. Let me go there. No, that's not the case. Yeah, that's not the istikhara. But how do people abuse the istikhara? They say, by the virtue of this man's good deeds, we will pay him to do the istikhara. And this again been going on. I know in Karachi this has been going on a long, long time and no one's getting married. You know why? Because one man is going to this peer, he's saying, my daughter wants to get married to so-and-so man, can you make istikhara? Yeah, £50. Now if he pays him £50 and turns around and says to him, yeah, this man is very good, you lost your customer. So what does he do? Every single man who comes for the proposal of this man's daughter, he says, very bad, very bad, very bad. 30 years, again, she's not married, she's still sitting there. 30 years she's still not married, and the man still make it every year. This one's bad. Don't worry, you come back for another one, yeah? £50, £50, £50, £50. On top of that, he'll come to your house and he won't leave until he's eaten all the kheer and all of the biryani and all of the food as well. He saw your food, he wants you to give him a gift as a, like shawarma means inside a carrier bag as well. Rub his head, hug him, kiss him on the forehead, and give him 50 quid as well. So these people are crooks making money, yeah? The reason why we say this is kufr akbar is because it involves contacting the jinn and the shayateen. Yeah. Number 20 is to slaughter to different than Allah, to slaughter to other than Allah. Number 21, anyone who believes that someone knows the ghaib. So this is different from number 19. Anyone claiming to know the knowledge of the ghaib, but anyone who believes that someone else has knowledge of the ghaib and then asks him in any way, even by watching him on TV or reading a magazine or listening to, for example, any television program, then that is Kufr Akbar. Why? Because Surah An-Naml verse number 55, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, no one knows what is in the heavens and the earth except Allah, or those by His permission. Yeah? So nobody has knowledge of the ghaib. So we see that nowadays people who ring up, they go on the Asian channels, go on the African channels, people ringing up all the time, yeah? You know, can you tell me, I've got this problem, what can you do for me? What's going to happen? You know, you see all the time some, you know, Baji is sitting there, or some Baizab is sitting there, yeah? And you can see, there's one program, I remember, I saw it once, I don't know if it still comes on. I was just flicking through the channels, and he's there every week, and he wears like a silk shirt, clean shaven, and he's lying down, and he's got one of those hubble bubbles. I don't know if you ever seen that one, yeah? You know what I'm talking about, yeah? He's quite a good looking guy, his fact is. He looks quite cute, you know? He's got chubby cheeks and whatever, yeah? Got a nice side parting and everything. And he's just sitting there, like that. Proper, like, you know, proper nice setup with cushions, silk cushions and fruits. You think this man is in Jannah. The way they portray it is like, this man is up there, you know, he's somewhere in Firdaus. And you're asking, look, can this happen for me? You know what I mean? Whatever it is, can you tell me about this? You know what I mean, yeah? My window broke. Oh, that's a sign. All this stuff. This is complete crazy. And people fall into this trap, whether it's by the TVs or whether it's by the living beings. Again, I know another family, they used to go to someone here in West London, just in Hayes, to some English woman who used to communicate with the jinn. And she used to have a lot of dogs that used to come inside the room. So when she used to communicate with the jinn, the dogs used to come, these Alsatians and Rottweilers and all this sort of business, yeah, some scary dogs. They come in and they just start going, "Arr, arr, arr, arr," and start barking, yeah? And then she starts telling you everything, yeah? But what happens is, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah explained this. He said the jinn, they go to the lower part of the heaven and they listen to the angels and they mix truth with falsehood and come back. So although you may hear certain things which you shouldn't go to anyway, they'll tell you certain things which you think are true, yeah, or which are true, but then there's a lot of falsehood, and in the first place it's shirk akbar anyway. But for example, one family, I know, they went there, and when they came back they said, yeah, you know, this woman, she knows everything about me. She told me when my what part of my house's kitchen window was broken, for example. She told me where I'm hiding the money within my house. So I knew she's telling the truth. You know what I mean? But this is obviously completely not allowed by going to these type of people. Number 22. The one who denies anything which is known from the deen by necessity after the hujjah has been established and he rejects it, then this person is a kafir. Anybody who denies anything which is known from the deen by necessity. And this is another course which we'll study at some point, maybe, I don't know, later on in the year or in the summer maybe. Ilma durura. Ilma durura are those masail, those matters which are jali, which are clear cut, those matters which are known by necessity. What makes something known by necessity? A matter which becomes known by necessity are those matters which don't have any disagreement upon by the ulama. For example, salah, does that have any disagreement amongst the ulama? It doesn't. Yeah. For example, alcohol, hamr, that is haram. Does that have any difference of opinion amongst the ulama? It doesn't. Anybody who denies that, or denies anything known from the deen by necessity, or rejects it, then this person has become a kafir. He's committed the kufr akbar. Now, those are just some examples. I'm going to elaborate a little bit further and give you the 19 branches of kufr. This is known as the 19 shu'ab of al-kufr in just a while. But first, we need to discuss what are the sayings and actions which are haram, but don't make you kafir, but could make you become kafir. Meaning those actions which are kufr asgar. So we discussed that which is kufr akbar. Now we need to know what is kufr asgar. So these are matters which are sinful, they are haram, and we describe kufr asgar as being anything which decreases the iman by doing whatever Allah has forbidden, and the sharia. And the sharia calls it kufr because it is denying the haqq to somebody, whether to Allah or somebody else. So this does not make you kafir. This is something which is a sin. And when we say sin, we mean that it decreases the iman. So just to give you some examples, these actions are haram, and these could make you become, these could lead to kufr akbar depending upon the context on which you do those. Why have I got these as 2? Okay, I've got a list here of 10 matters which are haram, which could make you kafir. After that, I've got an example of 12 matters which are specifically known as kufr duna kufr or kufr asgar. Yeah, it's just by way of classification. I don't know why that is, but it just happened to be like that in my notes. Okay, the first matter, which is haram, but it doesn't make you become a kafir, is to say so-and-so man can do whatever he wishes. Yeah? or to say he's the richest of all people, or to say he's the king of all kings. Yeah. For example, we only believe Allah is Al-Malik. Now to attribute that to somebody else now, that is something which is not allowed. Yeah. So to say that these type of statements, these are known as haram. But obviously, depending upon the context in which you say them, depending if you elevate the person to a level, for example, the man can do whatever he wishes, and we don't care what Allah says, then that is obviously kufr akbar. Yeah. But here, this is a statement which is haram. Number two, for someone to say, for example, "Oh Allah, forgive me if you wish." Forgive me if you wish. That is not asking for forgiveness, really, because the hadith said, if any one of you ask Allah, let him have azima, and do not say, "Forgive me if you wish," meaning ask properly. Yeah. And there is nothing that Allah He dislikes from your request, or something which He cannot do. Yeah. And the reference for this hadith is Sahih Muslim, hadith number 2678, on the authority of Anas bin Malik, and this is page number 2063. The hadith said, if any one of you asks Allah, let him have azima, and do not say, "Forgive me if you wish." There is nothing that Allah dislikes from your request, or nothing that He cannot do. Meaning Allah is all capable. Yeah, Allah is all capable. Yeah, that's Anas bin Malik, Sahih Muslim. So anyone who says, "Oh Allah, forgive me if you wish," that statement is haram. The page number or the hadith number? Hadith number 2678. Sahih Muslim, hadith number 2678, on the authority of Anas bin Malik, and that is page number 2063. 2063. Nice hadith that is. Okay. Here is another one. This is mentioned in, this is point number 3 now. It's been mentioned by Imam Shafi in his book Kitab al-Umm, which is known as the mother. In this, there is a hadith mentioned in here. If any of you says to his Muslim brother, "You are an enemy of Allah," or "You are a Jew," that is kufr asghar, and there is no cause that could lead to kufr akbar. No cause that could lead to kufr akbar. Why? Because that was what? The takfeer al-hawa. Yeah. So we discussed this takfeer al-hawa anyway before anyway. Yeah. To say to somebody, "You're a kafir," and he's not a kafir, that is kufr asghar. So now you got the reference. Now it's in Kitab al-Umm by Imam Shafi. That is haram. That is sinful. To say to somebody, "You're a Jew," or "You're an enemy of Allah," and that is not allowed. Number 4, somebody to say, "The nature decided it," or "It was lucky for me," or "That is destiny's wish." Not destiny's child, but destiny's wish. Yeah. But how many people you find like that nowadays? Yeah. You know, the nature, or Mother Nature. What do you mean Mother Nature? Where's Father Nature gone then? You know what I mean? Nature decided. This is complete rubbish. "Oh, I'm lucky." No such thing as luck. Talk about qadar wal qada, that's a different story. But not to say, "It was lucky for me," yeah, or "very unlucky," or "That's very bad. What happened? She left me. That's very unlucky." Maybe you'll get lucky and you'll find another one. Maybe I'll just punch you in the face for saying that. Yeah, don't do that. Number 5, for someone to say, "That man, he doesn't deserve that particular sickness." Yeah. That is very dangerous, because you are accusing Allah Azza wa Jal of injustice. Rather, we say kafara and tahud for you. If somebody we meet and he phones you up, for example, it happens all the time with me anyway. Whenever I speak to somebody, he goes, "I'm not feeling well." The sunnah is to say, "Don't worry, akhi, kafara," meaning like a recovery for you, and kafara and tahud, and a means for you to get forgiveness from your Lord. That's why the sickness is a blessing from Allah Azza wa Jal for us. Every time we're sick, then our sins, it's been described, they drop the way the leaves they fall from the tree. And same thing with the salam as well. When you give the salam to your Muslim brothers, then your sins, they drop from, like the way the leaves, they drop from the tree. That's the hadith of Rasulullah. So the one who says, for example, now, this man, he didn't deserve to die. What do you mean? You're denying the destiny which Allah Azza wa Jal, you ripped for him, his destiny. Yeah, so that is completely not allowed. Or to say this person, he doesn't deserve to be sick. Or we get people like that. If when you're with families, and somebody's, sometimes dies or whatever, and sometimes people, they'll say a word with that, and you think to yourself, astaghfirullah, how can a man say such a thing? They say, "Oh, Allah took him at the wrong time. What do you mean? Allah took him at the wrong time. You know what I mean? As if like, well, you don't know what Allah, as if Allah doesn't know what He's doing or something. Yeah? Or why did He have to do that to my son? My son was a good boy. Yeah? Why did He have to take his life for? He done a great zulm. A'udhu billah. I met people like this. I met one bro from Afghanistan. He said Allah done great zulm on Afghanistan. Yeah? And the Americans have done a lot of justice. A'udhu billah. It turned out this guy was drunk. Ended up in a bit of a physical confrontation anyway, yeah? Drunk or not drunk, me, I couldn't handle that personally. If you say that sort of stuff around me, then it's going to be another story, yeah? So that was number 5. Number 6, to say a statement such as, so-and-so man is far from any forgiveness, or far from any guidance, or far from Jannah, that is not allowed. Yeah? Why? Because you are making testification to something which you have no knowledge of, and which is something which is not within your own hands, in fact. Yeah? So to say, this person, Allah will never forgive him. Who the hell told you that Allah never going to forgive him? Yeah? Or say, this man is far away from Jannah. He's never going to enter the Jannah. Over my dead body, he's going to get the Jannah. Yeah, that's true. Maybe over your dead body, he will get the Jannah. Maybe you become kafir, murtad, he kills you, then he goes to Jannah. Hadith said, the one who kills a kafir, he'll never be in the same place with him in the hereafter. Where does kafir go? Hellfire. And that was the brother of Umar al-Faruq, you know, he made an analogy of this, and then he went after someone in the battlefield. Hadith in regards to this in Sahih Muslim, volume 4, page number 2023, hadith of Jandub, said that Rasulullah said regarding a man who said that Allah will never forgive so-and-so person, and he said, Allah will never forgive so-and-so, I will never forgive so-and-so man. Allah said, who is it that makes judgment for me? I forgive so and so. Rasulullah said that Allah said that Allah said that I forgive so and so person, and you, the one who was saying that I will never forgive him, I will vanish all of your good deeds. You see, so very dangerous with this to say statements like this. Say Allah will never forgive him. Allah will never give him Jannah. Could be the opposite as well. Allah will never send him to the hellfire. Why not? Because I've voted for him. Well, okay, maybe you both go to the hellfire then. How about he go Jannah and you go hellfire? You willing to do that? And people, they're like that nowadays. They want to give da'wah nowadays. So people enter the Jannah even though they go outside the fold of Islam. So they'll say statements without even realize, but no, we've got to keep the kafir happy, innit? Behave like Jew. This is like Jew marketing scheme. This is, you've got to keep the kafir happy, even if you didn't get your own deen. So you're so desperate for him to get huda and guidance from Allah, even though you go outside the fold of Islam. You've got to be careful. Just because you want to give da'wah to someone doesn't mean you start to say anything willy-nilly here and there, just so you can get to the, just so you can get a couple of shahadas. Number 7, to say to somebody, may Allah oppress you. Yeah, that is haram. And this, of course, is may Allah oppress you. There's difference between this and saying, may Allah, punish those who are the zalimun, because there's hadith with regards to this. There are 3 people, their dua will never be rejected. The fasting person, I believe the traveller, and the one who's been oppressed. And we described that this person who makes the dua, the dua between, there's only like a cloth, or there's no shield or nothing in between this person and Allah when it comes to this dua. The dua, Allah will respond to this type of dua. That's why it's very, if you don't zulm upon someone, like if you're an oppressive ruler or somebody in the army or whatever you are, you need to be careful, because that dua will be answered and responded to. So the first one was the fasting person, the second one was the traveller, and the third one was the weak and the oppressed. That's why the dua is going to be accepted. That's why the Sheikh Muhaisani, I believe it was, when he made the dua inside Mecca after 9/11, they said on that night there was one helicopter that fell down inside Afghanistan. You see, so Allah knows the dua, ad-dua huwa al-ibadah, the dua can be accepted at any time. That's the greatest, as the brothers once said, the greatest arsenal that we got, not the football club, but the greatest weapon that we've got. The dua is weapon of the believer. Don't ever leave your home without it. And wudu is a weapon of the believer as well. Wudu and dua, but you're equipped. You don't need no AK-47, you don't need nothing. Make one dua. Tell me the kafir can do that. Kafir, all he can do is send the MI5 to your house. I make dua, Ya Allah, give him all the disease in the world. Punish the anti-terrorism branch. Smite their necks with the angels. Via the angels. I'm not inciting anybody to do anything. But via the angels, smite their necks. May their guns go off in between their trousers and shoot them where the sun never shines and where the water never touches. The istinja. Yeah? Yeah, you know what I mean, yeah? So then that's something strong. You should never ever forget that. Don't ever underestimate the power of the dua. And sadly people don't understand this, Remember some brothers, they went to Ireland, I believe it was. They went there for dawah. And they were talking to one mosque and they're saying, look, when you come out, when you do this, when you do that, blah, blah, blah. And the sheikh or the imam, he said, look, we can't do this. It's too difficult. He said, why don't you make dua? He goes, dua, what did that ever do for us? Auzubillah. So people, you don't realize nowadays, They don't have no hope in Allah's mercy. Number 8, to say Allah remembered him and He took him, or to say to Allah, what did you ever do for this person? Yeah, I know it's similar to the other one, but this is just another example, just for you to comprehend. To say Allah remembered him and took him, yeah, that is something haram. Allah remembered him and took him. Number 9, to say tomorrow I will do so and so, without to say inshallah. That is again something haram. Yeah, without to say inshallah. Doesn't mean if you forget to say inshallah that become haram, because it could be that you forget sometimes. Yeah, but I know people, they argue about this on the internet. You're talking to someone on Facebook and he writes inshallah with a capital A and a full word, and the other one just puts IA. So I say A'udhu billah, kufr duna kufr. My God, man. On Facebook, people start fighting, and on MSN. Number 10, if we did so and so, to say if we did so and so, or if we did not do so and so, then so and so would have happened. This person is a bit of a so and so. Yeah, to say if we did so and so, that is something haram. Okay, so let me give you some more examples of kufr duna kufr. These are being specifically mentioned as kufr duna kufr. Yeah, and the first, this is 12 points I've got here. The first of them being to call a Muslim kafir, except if someone does it for the sake of it, meaning with the full preventions. Yeah, that is kufr duna kufr. I already mentioned that in the other one, in the other set of points which I've given to you. To call a Muslim kafir, except if he has a permit to do so. This one, you guys will love this one. Kufr al-ashir. The kufr al-ashir is for the wife to disobey her husband. This one is deadly, isn't it? Yeah. So when a woman says now to her husband now, I never saw one good day with you, that is kufr duna kufr. Yeah. Or the woman who wants to come out of marriage for no reason whatsoever. No, I just don't like him anymore. I'm bored. What do you mean you're bored? I remember this one brother, his wife divorced him. She said because he's got Chinese eyes. What's that got to do with anything? He's got Chinese eyes. Poke them up a little bit, they look normal a little bit, then, isn't it? Yeah. What about the Chinese eyes for? You know what I mean? Yeah. He's got Chinese eyes. I'm going to divorce him. Yeah. But that is something you get that all. Well, we don't get that all the time, but some brothers could get that all the time, where the woman says to the husband, isn't it? What you ever do for me? You never ever done that. I never saw one good day with you. But what about all those times I used to get shopping for you? I used to buy kebab for you. I even cooked the kebab for you. Yeah. I never saw one good day with you. This type of woman, is a dodgy woman. Allah protect us from that type of woman, Well, you want the woman who's always saying, every day has been good with you. SubhanAllah. What can I do without you? Hubby's with the swagger. Every day is good. Even the time when you didn't have no money, that was the best day. Really? I ain't got no money today. Not bad. Yeah. Number 3, to fight the Muslims. Fighting the Muslims. Obviously, this has different level as well. This can become kufr akbar. Number 4, for a person to attribute himself different to his father. You're not my dad, you're my dad. What? How about come your dad? I don't know who the hell you are. You're black, I'm white. Yeah, you're my dad now. No. To attribute yourself to somebody different than your father, to say so-and-so person is your father, the ulama of Ahl Sunnah, they describe this as kufr duna kufr. Yeah? As a kufr asgar. Because it's not allowed for you to attribute yourself or cut off your lineage. And the next one is similar to this, to accuse someone's lineage. Like to say to someone, your father is such and such person, or you are the son of a dirty tribe. Yeah? Sahih Bukhari, Rasulullah said, do not deny your father. Yeah? So to say, on one hand you are saying, you're not my dad, he's my dad. Or for someone to say to you, he's not your dad, he's your dad. Yeah? But the kuffar go all day long with this one. Yeah? Who's your dad? I don't know. Milkman's your dad, the postman's your dad. This one's not too much of a problem. But to say that to a Muslim, that's not allowed. Because at the first one you speak the haqq. He doesn't know who his dad is. Because the kuffar are liars. You know what I mean? So when she comes, says I'm pregnant, that means she's not pregnant. And when she says she's not pregnant, that means she is pregnant. Yeah? So that's one you've got to be careful with. Number 5 is the kufr na'ma. Number 6 that is now, isn't it? Number 6, yeah? Kufr na'ma. Someone who is ungrateful to whatever Allah has given him. And that could be for many things. Could be your wife, could be your computer. Depends which one you value more, the computer or the wife. Wife you can replace, certain computers you can't replace. Yeah, so someone who's ungrateful to Allah, says, you should give the shukr to Allah. Ya Allah, thank you for this nice MacBook with Intel quad core. Oh yeah, and the wife as well. Yeah. Someone to become ungrateful about his wife, that is something not good, or anything which is the ni'mah of Allah. Example for it could be, for example, the way this can occur. Someone can say, for example, the wealth that I have, it is my wealth, or it came from my mother and my father. So he doesn't appreciate the fact that who was the one who gave that wealth, the ni'mah of the wealth? It was Allah who gave it to the parents. So via the parents, maybe it came to you, no problem. But who is the one who provides? Allah. Who is the one who can take away that wealth anytime He wants? Allah. Now, but to say now, not only because of my parents, yeah, I got it. This is a form of kufr duna kufr. Another example, because of you, I got that job. Yeah, that is denying again the ni'mah of Allah, and it's the kufr ni'mah to deny any of the blessings of Allah. Yeah, rather you want to say by the will of Allah. Alhamdulillah. And there's no problem to say, thank you very much. You helped me. Give me a nice reference to get that job. Not a problem. Okay, the next one, wailing for the dead people. Hussein, 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 Hussein. This one is completely not allowed there. What these Shia they do all day long, jumping up and down like monkeys, wailing for the dead people. Number 8. Actually, number 8 is sort of repeated that one. Okay. Number 9, yeah. Number 8 is to attribute to someone who's not his dad. It's the same actually as the first one, isn't it? The one I mentioned before. Okay, number 9, or we can call it number 8 anyway, yeah. For the servant to run away from his boss. That is kufr duna kufr, kufr asghar. Believe it or not. I'm surprised if you didn't know that one, but for someone to run away from his boss, the employee to run away from his boss, maybe he stole the napkins, maybe put a fork in his pocket here from the restaurant, run away, that is kufr duna kufr. Number 10, to pray without wudu. That is kufr asghar, kufr duna kufr. Number 11, this one will make you shy, to approach the wife from the backside. Yeah, that's kufr duna kufr. I don't need to explain that one anyway, yeah? So you can visualize that somehow. Number 12 now? Or number 11? 12, okay. Al-hilfu bi ghayrullah, to give oath by other than Allah. Yeah? To give an oath by other than Allah. Hadith in Tirmidhi and Bukhari, it said, the one who swears by other than Allah is either committing kufr or shirk. And the ulama, they agree that is kufr asghar. Yeah, to give an oath by other than Allah, or the one who swears an oath by other than Allah, that is kufr asghar. Unless, of course, the person, he elevates the person in his heart to the level of Allah. Because the Prophet said, do not swear by other than Allah. To swear an oath by other than Allah, that is kufr asghar, unless the person elevates that person like Allah, or makes him close like Allah. Also, swearing at a Muslim. This is what number now? 13, yeah? I need to write this down. So you make notes, I make notes at the same time. Not bad, isn't it? We both learn at the same time. Hadith of Bukhari and Muslim said that to insult a Muslim is a sin, but to fight him is kufr. Yeah? But like I said to you before, the two are not the same. Fighting him is not the same, because if the fighting, if it involves muwalat, if the fighting is muwalat or tawalli, then that is the kufr kubra, yeah, and that is agreed upon by the consensus of the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, by allying with the kuffar against him. Yeah, another hadith it said, don't be a kafir after me by fighting each other. So here is an indication of both. To fight somebody can be kufr duna kufr, could be kufr akbar. Hadith also said, a mu'min cannot be a mu'min while he is committing fornication. So what does that mean? It means here now that just because somebody does a particular sin doesn't make him necessarily a kafir. During that act, he had a lesser degree of iman, unless of course he made jahud, or he made istihlal, or he done further than that, on anything else which we could use as an example. Another example of the issue of kufr duna kufr, yeah, just to prove there is such a thing as kufr duna kufr, is a hadith of reported by Abu Hurairah. Rasulullah said, the one who has a relationship with his wife during menstruation, or from the back passage, or goes to a fortune teller, he becomes a kafir on what Allah has revealed. Yeah, obviously this one is talking about both kufr duna kufr and kufr akbar. Hadith also said, whoever has relationship with his wife during the menses, during the period, let him make kafara. Yeah, so therefore we say this person, he must be a Muslim. If we're saying that the person doesn't make any kafara, then where's the recovery for the sin? Where's the kafara? Kafara is, for example, if, for example, I didn't fast in the month of Ramadan, I have to make it up. If I didn't get a chance to make it up, that fast, yeah, then I would pay kafara. Kafara for the fasting is to feed one poor person for one day for every fast that you missed. If there's no such thing as kafara, then what are we going to call it? Kufr akbar. So there is such a thing as kufr akbar and kufr asghar. So all you want to understand, and you can write this down, is the kufr akbar is belief, is disbelief to the level which takes somebody outside the fold of Islam. And the other one, which is known as kufr duna kufr, kufr asghar, that is a sin which doesn't make you a kafir, but it could make you become a kafir depending on how far you take it. Yeah. Another example is of kufr, to practice some part of the deen and another part of the deen. That is also another example of kufr akbar. If I didn't mention that, I just have managed to find that here. Another one, just to show you about the issue of kufr akbar and kufr duna kufr, kufr asghar and kufr akbar. This is a nice beautiful hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. Rasulullah said, Allah said to the angels, if my servant attempts to do a sin, if he attempts to do a sin, do not record it for him until he does it. Yeah? And if he does it, write it down as a sin. And if he does not do it, record it for him as 10 hasana, as 10 good deeds. Yeah? So you can see the rahmah of Allah and how Allah distinguishes between a kufr akbar and a kufr duna kufr and a kufr or the haram. Yeah, meaning even if you have niyyah to do intention, if you don't do the haram, you get reward for it. And when you do the haram, it's recorded as something bad deed. And more than that, the angels said, okay, I'll leave this one. I'm not too sure about this one. I haven't done the reference. I didn't manage to get the reference for this one. So anyway, what you understand is the kufr can be kufr akbar and kufr asghar, and it can occur on the saying and the action and on the belief. Now let me give you a couple of definitions with regards to all the different branches of kufr akbar. I'll write these down on the board and we will explain them all one by one. Do you know where the thing is? Where the white thing is? If not, maybe we can just use a tissue. Yeah. Okay, no problem. Hey, it works. Okay. This is known as the 19 branches of kufr, the magnificent 19. Okay, so I'll write them all down. You can write these all down and I'll give you all the evidences regards to each one of them. If you just leave sort of like a gap between each one, leave like maybe about 3 lines in between each one, yeah? If you can't read it, then just ask me and I'll tell you how to spell it. My writing's a bit Chinese, I know. So the first one is kufr al-takdhib. The next one is kufr al-ibah. The third one is kufr al-jahud. I'll give you all English for them when I sit down and go through all of them one by one with you. Kufr al-irad, that means to turn your back. Normally, I always write this stuff down before we have the talk. But I thought, this will give some time for your brain to relax a little bit. When I give all the evidences for these, it's not a point for you to memorize all of the evidences, just a matter for you to comprehend them. But what is important is that you try to memorize all of these terms, and this will help you a lot, especially when it comes to the application of takfeer. And for anybody who's going to want to make the takfeer in any area, they needs to be aware of all of these subjects. All of these really are huge topics in itself. When I mean huge topics, I'm talking about 2-3 hour topics. So for example, God, it's really bad in my handwriting. This one I've just written down, number 7, kufr at-takabbur, the kufr of arrogancy. That could be a whole 3 hour topic on its own. Can you read this, yeah? Alhamdulillah. Here is kufr al-shirk bil-rububiyya, uluhiyya, al-asma sifat. I just abbreviate it there for you. So you got kufr al-shirk bil-rububiyya, uluhiyya, al-asma sifat, kufr al-shafa', kufr al-dua, yeah, of supplication. That's number 11. Number 12. Some of these obviously, I've discussed them already, but we're just making a nice classification here so you understand all the different branches of kufr. And all of these, in fact, or most of them, you will find in either Kitab al-Tawheed by Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab or Nawaqid al-Islam, by Sheikh Abdul Wahhab. So this one is known as Al-Kufr al-Dabi, the Ghayrullah, to slaughter to different than Allah. Next one is known as Kufr al-Nadr. I have to make sure I get the correct spellings of these. Kufr al-Nadr, that is to make an oath to other than Allah. Al-Kufr al-Qiyamu bi Ghayrullah, that means to stand to other than Allah. Al-Kufr al-Ghayb, again we discussed this already. Hold on. My numbers are mixed up then, isn't it? Kufr al-Kadhib, that is the one who lies about Allah. You'll soon understand why it's not just a matter of you just having a textbook when it comes to studying these topics. Although, nothing wrong with having a textbook. Kufr al-Riya. See, when you got handwriting like mine, you can pretend to be a doctor. Because doctor has always got bad handwriting. That's probably the easiest job to get, a doctor. Any patient comes to you, just tell them to have Coke. And then your cousin can sell it. Okay, so those are the 19 branches of kufr. Now I have to sort out all my notes all over again, because they're all over the place now. So if you got them all down, anything you're not sure about the spelling, feel free to ask me. Good. So that's what we've done. This is what we're doing. Don't worry, after this part, we'll take a break for the next one. And usually this topic, yeah, people usually spend about 3 weeks studying it, but you're doing it all in one day. Yeah, you don't play around here, man. We'll get some good ones done. Alright, kufr taqreeb. I'm going to do this very, very quickly, yeah? Okay, this is the one who doesn't believe in any of what Allah has legislated, known by necessity. That could be not to believe in the angels or the messengers. 2 ayahs in regards to this is Surah Al-An'am, verse number 21. Surah Al-An'am 21. This ayah, Allah said, who is more unjust than the one who invents a lie about Allah or denies His verses? Indeed, the wrongdoers, they will never succeed. Obviously, you want to go home and read all of these verses. Not have to get them all down word for word, yeah? The next one is Surah 29, verse 68. And this ayah says, who is more of a dhalim than the one who lies? Did you catch the verse? Yeah. Surah 29, verse 68. Surah 29, verse 68. Who is more a dhalim than the one who lies about Allah or disbelieves in what Allah says? Is there not enough space for the kafir in Jahannam? So, very strong verse there. So the first one is kufr al-taqdeeb, yeah? The one who denies in any of the legislated matters which are known from the deen by necessity, such as belief in Allah, belief in the angels, messengers, the sharia, iman, anything like that, then that is kufr akbar, yeah? Then the next one is the kufr of rejecting. You got that on the board there. Kufr al-iba, the kufr of rejecting. There's 3 verses with regards to this. I'm going to give you the references. It's better if you just write down the references and not the whole verse, yeah? The first one is Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 34. The next one is Surah At-Tawbah, verse number 9. So Surah 2, verse 34. Then Surah 9, verse 9. Then Surah 17, verse 89. I'll read those verses out to you. The first one, Baqarah, I said, and when we said to the angels, make obstinance to Adam, they did obstinance. I don't know what that word means anyway, yeah? But Iblis did not. He refused and he was proud and he was one of the unbelievers. Meaning, the one when he was asked for the people to make sujood to Adam alayhi salam, everyone did except Shaitan. He was proud and he was one of the unbelievers. So here, what was the disbelief of Shaitan? Not just one of arrogancy, because that's another point, but here he rejected the hukum of Allah. So anyone who rejects the hukum of Allah. So the first one was disbelief. This one is talking about the rejection. Another Surah Tawbah, Allah said they take a small price. They have taken a small price for the ayat of Allah, so they turn away from the path of Allah. Surely evil is that what they do. Surah 17, verse 89, Allah said, and verily we have explained for men in this Quran every kind of similitude, but most men do not consent to anything, but they deny. The third one is kufr al-jahud, the kufr of denial. And this one, you have, so many references. You got 4 verses. First one is Surah 6, verse 33 to 34. Again, it's not a matter of studying all of these in depth, all of these topics, because this is more in relation to apostasy. And I don't want to concentrate too much on that. Rather, I just want you to comprehend those terms tonight. And you can go back and read those verses, and they're very clear cut. They're not anything ambiguous within those verses. Surah 6, verse 33 to 34. Then you have Surah 7, verse 50 to 51. Surah 29, verse 47. Surah 27, verse 14. Surah 31, verse 32. All of these verses, they describe people who lie, yeah, or they deny the signs of Allah, yeah. For example, the verse which I mentioned to you, Surah 29 verse 47, Allah said, nobody has jahood, nobody denies the ayat except the kafir. Yeah, except the kafir. Another verse, Allah said, in Surah 27 verse 14, Allah said, and they denied them unjustly and proudly while their soul had been conceived of them. Consider then how was the end of the mischief makers. This ayah, it was talking about the Yahud. It was talking about the Jews who denied the prophethood of Rasulullah even though they had yaqeen within their hearts. They believed inside their heart he was a prophet, but by their outward they were described as the mischief makers. Yeah? And Surah 31, verse 32, I'm not going to read all the verses, something you can read yourself. Number 4 is kufar al-irad, to turn your back, turn your back to the deen. This is also known as kufr tawalli, the one who doesn't want to study Islam. Yeah, so that those non-practicing Muslims. And in this one we have 4 verses. Surah As-Sajdah, verse 22. In this verse, Surah As-Sajdah, verse 22, Allah said, who is more unjust than the one who is reminded of the verses of his Lord, then he turns away from them. Indeed, we from the criminals, we will take retribution. And Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said the criminals, the mujrimeen in this verse are described as kafir. Then also you have Surah 46, verse 3. Surah 20, verse 99 to 101. Also Surah 18, verse 57. Those are the verses for kufr al-irad, to turn your back on the deen of Allah. The next one is known as kufr al-muqaddaha. Kufr al-muqaddaha is the one who is deceiving. The one who is deceiving. Those people who say they are Muslim, but really they are kafir inside. Yeah? 2 verses with regards to this. First is Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 8 to 9. The second one is Surah Al-Nisa, verse 142. Surah Al-Baqarah said, and there are some people who say, we believe in Allah and the last day, they are not at all believers. And there are some who they desire to deceive Allah, and those who believe and they deceive only themselves, but they do not perceive. So this ayah talking about how some people want to try and fool other people, and they say, look, we believe, we're mu'min. But Allah Azza wa Jalla said, they don't fool anybody except themselves, and they are kuffar. And this is obviously talking about those people, munafiqeen. They're always trying to deceive you and say we're believers. Yeah. Surah Al-Nisa said, surely the hypocrites strive to deceive Allah. Again, talking about munafiqeen. And he shall requite their deceit to them. And when they stand up in prayer, they stand up sluggishly. That's one of the signs of the munafiq. When he comes to the prayer, he's always lazy. And they do it only to be seen of men, and they do not remember Allah. Yeah, so they only do it just to show the people, but really inside their hearts they have this nifaq, this hypocrisy. So these kufr al-muqahada is the ones who try to deceive Muslims. They try to deceive Allah as well, but really they only deceive themselves. Yeah, so they try to show some outward Islam, outward iman, but really they conceal the kufr. The next one is kufr istiza, kufr of mocking. I'm not going to go into that. We already studied the issue of kufr of mocking many times before. 3 verses with regards to this. First is Surah At-Tawbah, verse 65 to 66. If I'm going too fast, just tell me I'll slow down, yeah? Any verse you miss, don't hesitate to ask. Otherwise, the last thing you want to do is get the wrong verse, go home, check it, and it says this one's talking about wudu, he's talking about kufr. Yeah? Next one is Surah Nisa, verse 140. The other one is Surah At-Tawbah, verse 12. I'll repeat those. Those are Surah Tawbah, verse 65 to 66. Surah Nisa, verse 140, and again Surah Tawbah, verse number 12. The next point is number 7. The next branch of kufr is known as kufr at-takabbur, or istikbar. This is talking about the one of arrogancy. And this is in fact what shaitan he did. What did shaitan do? What prevented him from showing the respect to Adam alayhi salam and bowing down to Adam alayhi salam was this arrogancy. And this is mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 34. Allah said, and mentioned when we said to the angels, prostrate before Adam. All of them they did so, except for Iblis, shaitan. He refused and he was arrogant and he became one of the disbelievers. So there shouldn't even be a doubt in your mind. When someone says, is shaitan Muslim or kafir? What do you think? He's a kafir. You know what I mean? If he's not kafir, then all of us, we all become mu'min, and all Jews and Christians go to the Jannah. And in fact, we mentioned another verse, Surah 16, verse 29, about how the Jahannam is for those people who are arrogant. Allah said, and enter the hellfire from all the doors forever. That is the permanent state for the arrogant. Yeah? And hadith, in fact, with regards to this, Abdullah ibn Masud, he reported that Rasulullah said that he will never enter paradise, the one who has an atom's weight of takabbur. This is in Sahih Muslim. Nobody will enter paradise, the one who has an atom's weight of arrogancy. So this is quite dangerous for us. Quite dangerous for us, the issue of takabbur, of arrogancy. Another hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the people who have arrogancy, they'll be resurrected on Yawm al-Qiyamah like ants. I mean, you used to walk around so big and look down at everybody, yeah? On Yawm al-Qiyamah, you'd be like an ant. SubhanAllah, Allah protect us from this one, because the arrogancy can come to anybody. On this hadith, one man, he asked Rasulullah of Sahih Muslim, he said, Ya Rasulullah, what if a man, he likes to have good clothes and good shoes, yeah? Is this arrogancy? Here Rasulullah said, no, Allah is Jameel, He is Al-Jameel, He is good, and He likes everyone to be Jamal, good. And He likes to see everything Jamal, good. Arrogancy is Batrul Haq, to reject the truth and look down upon the people and to belittle them. So to always look down at them, to belittle other people, that is arrogancy. When is it Kufr Akbar though? When is arrogancy Kufr Akbar? There's a number of verses in regards to this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 verses. The first is Surah 39, verse 59. Surah 39, verse 59. Basically, it is Kufr Akbar when the verses come to you and you reject them. All the verses are pretty much the same. But I'll just mention the first one. Allah said, verily, no, but no, my verses, they reach you, and you rejected them, and you were arrogant. They were arrogant amongst them. They are the kafirin. Allah described those people who are arrogant, who turn their back from the verses out of arrogancy and pride. Then they are the kafirin. And who is the best example of that? Fir'aun. He had the takabbur, arrogancy. He could not handle the fact that Musa alayhi salam, he believed in somebody else, another Rabb, who could give life and take life. Somebody else. We know many of the stories about how he punished the woman who was the hairdresser. Yeah, she used to comb the hair, and how her and her children were thrown inside the cauldron. Also, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 87. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 87. Allah said, whenever a messenger came to you with something you didn't like, you become arrogant. Some of them you rejected, and some of them you killed. Who do you think this verse was talking about? Bani Israel. This verse, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 87. That whenever a Nabi came to you with something you didn't like, you started to become arrogant. Some of them you rejected them, and some of them you killed. Also, Surah Al-Nisa, verse 173, Allah said, then as for those who believed and did good deeds, unto them He will pay their wages in full, adding unto them of His bounty. And as for those who were scornful and arrogant, for them will be the punishment and the painful doom. That is Surah Al-Nisa, verse 173. The next verse is talking about Fir'aun, which is Surah 28, verse 39. And in this verse, Allah described Fir'aun. He said, and Fir'aun and his soldiers, they become arrogant, and they rejected the haqq, and they thought that they could not, that they would not have to return to us. But obviously, we know everybody, they return back to Allah and be accounted. When is it ma'asi? When does a person become sinful? So, with the takabbur, it could be kufr akbar, could be kufr asgar. Yeah? This is in relation to matters of the dunya. And this is reported in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim on the authority of Salman al-Aqwa. Beautiful name, Salman al-Aqwa. He said, a man entered the Prophet while he was eating. And when he sat down to eat, he started eating with his left hand. And the Prophet said, don't eat with your left hand, eat with your right hand. He said, I cannot. The Prophet said, nothing stops this man from eating with his right hand except for arrogancy. Because brother, if you're hungry, you'll even eat with your own feet. You'll even get your toes and try and scramble them like that, your little toes, and eat with that. And after that, the man, he never lifted his left hand to his face after that. Some people say after that, his hand actually became paralyzed as well. His left hand became paralyzed as well. You know what I mean? So you got a child sometimes like, I'm left-handed. No such thing as left-handed. You put that away, you use the right hand. You know what I mean? Otherwise, no food for you. Always teach your child to eat with the right hand. Everything we do with the right hand. We go and we meet the Muslim with the right hand. Meet the kafir with the left hand. I go inside the Muslim house with the right foot. Kafir, I go with the left foot. All the izzah for the Muslim. All the karama for the Muslim. And all the humiliation for the kafir. Because he humiliate himself. He worshipped the cow, the monkey. He become less than the cow and the monkey. Yeah? The number 8 is kufr al-inat. And this is the one of stubbornness, meaning he knows the haqq, and his tongue says it, that this Islam is the haqq, but he doesn't accept it. And who is a good example of that? Abu Talib, who was the uncle of Rasulullah. He knew the haqq, and even accepted that it was the haqq, yeah? By the tongue, he even testified that, what you come with, there's no doubt, is the truth, must be the truth. But except it's just my forefathers, it's just my lineage, that's what prevents me, yeah? So, out of stubbornness, somebody can become a kafir. And this one being mentioned in Surah 50, verse 24. Allah said, throw in hellfire all those stubborn kafirs. Even people say, we can't call the kafir a kafir. Well, Allah called them a kafir. Allah said, they're stubborn kafirs. Stubborn kafir is going to the hellfire. Like it or not, they're going to kafir. Number 73, verse 16. That's another verse as well. I'm not going to go into that. Number 9 is, well, 3 areas really. Is the kufr al-shirk bil-rububiyyah or uluhiyyah or shirk billah in the names and attributes of Allah. This is massive, obviously, on itself. You want to know about the shirk in rububiyyah, uluhiyyah, asma sifat? I'm not going to give you that. I'm just going to give you the verses for each one. In rububiyyah, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 verses. First is Surah Ma'idah, verse 72. Ma'idah, verse 72, for Tawheed Rububiyyah. Also Surah 22, verse 31. 22, verse 31. Also Surah 11, verse 101. Is that the time? Is it 7:20? Okay. And I thought I didn't have enough, prepared for you guys. I thought maybe I need to do more, but it turns out that I've got more than enough. Surah 11, verse 101. The next one is Surah 26, verse 97 to 98. The next one is Surah 112. I believe that's Surah Ikhlas, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah? So Tawheed Rububiyyah. Obviously that's just a few. You want to know about the Shirk Rububiyyah? Go buy a book. You'll find a whole load of evidences with regards to Tawheed Rububiyyah. So obviously what is the kufr in Tawheed Rububiyyah? To deny that Allah is not the Rabb, the one who doesn't control and manage, the one who does not give life or take life. You can also call this Tawheed al-Halq. Anything which is in relation to the functions of Allah. To make a shirk in any one of them, to associate a partner with any one of them, that will take you outside the fold of Islam. For shirk al-uluhiyyah, massive Tawheed al-uluhiyyah. I can give you a whole book on that as well, Kitab al-Tawheed. But 2 verses just for you on that is Surah Al-Nisa, verse 116, and Surah Al-Nisa, verse 48. Both these verses are very similar, so I decided I'd only give you one of them. Verse 48 of Surah An-Nisa says, surely Allah does not forgive that anything should be associated with Him, and forgives what is besides that to whoever He pleases, and whoever associates anything with Allah, He devises indeed a great sin. So this is obviously talking about shirk in uluhiyyah. Uluhiyyah, we are talking about the ibadah of Allah, yeah, in any of His rights. For the asma sifat, we have Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 22. Number 10 is kufr al-shifa, of intercession, when people ask for someone to intercede for him, yeah. And this one we have Surah 10, verse 18. And this verse basically talks about those people who make lies against Allah, yeah, and those people who who make this lie against their Lord, and try to believe that someone else can intercede on their behalf. Surah 11, Kufr number 11, Kufr al-Dua, Kufr al-Dua, of supplication, of dua. Oh my God, there's so many verses for this one as well. First one is Surah 31, verse 30. Next one is Surah 10, verse 66. Next one is Surah 13, verse 14. The next one is Surah 16, verse 20 to 21. Let me know if you got all of them, and I'll mention the other 2. Got them? Good. Surah 46, verse 5 to 6. Surah 35, verse 13 to 14. Surah 35, verse 13 to 14. This is one of the most boring talks that you've had so far, yeah? Because this is all references. Very academic topic. Okay? That is the kufr of dua. Those verses are very self-explanatory. You can read them in your own time. Next one is kufr al-dabi bi ghayrullah, to slaughter to other than Allah. Yeah, and this one we have 2 verses. This is number 12 now. Yeah, if you're following it on the board, kufr al-dabi bi ghayrullah, you would never think that there's so many different types of kufr in it, but there's a lot. Remember when Imam Shafi, when he spoke about the kufr or apostasy in Babu Ridda, he mentioned over 200 things that can make you become a kafir. So I'm just mentioning a few of them. There's a lot. For number 12, you have Surah 108 verse 2 and Surah 6 verse 121. And in fact, we have another hadith for you in this area, for this part. And this is a nice story in Musnad of Imam Ahmed. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said 2 people, they entered the hellfire and the paradise because of one fly, one mosquito, one insect. And the Sahaba, they said, how can it be that 2 people, they go to the hellfire and paradise because of one fly, because of one mosquito? Usually you think of something big. They said, so 2 men, they were passing by a bunch of mushrikeen. The bunch of mushrikeen, they said, slaughter anything for our idol. Yeah? And one of them, he refused. And the other one said, I don't have anything to slaughter. Yeah? And he said, slaughter anything, even if it's a mosquito. The man, he slaughtered a mosquito. I don't know how you slaughter a mosquito, because they're so small, yeah? Grab it and just try and chop his head off, yeah? Like one of those Taliban or whatever, yeah? But he slaughtered the mosquito. He sacrificed the mosquito for the sake of the idol. Rasulullah said, this man, he entered the hellfire because of that one action. As for the other one, he's a little bit naughty. Taliban again, yeah? He said, no, I'm not going to slaughter anything. La ilaha illallah, let your man-made law go to hell. Sharia for UK. Islam, Sharia for America.com, yeah? He said all of that. They said, okay, this man is naughty Muslim, yeah? He's extremist, fundamentalist. Kill him. Because of that one action, because he never slaughtered to that idol, he went to the Jannah. So that's a nice story for you there. Number 13, to kufr al-nadhir bi ghayrullah, to make an oath to other than Allah. Nice verse for you here, Surah 76, verse 7. This is number 13 we're on now, yeah? Hopefully you got enough room to write all the references, you know, because first we wrote down the list, and now you got the references. Surah 76, verse 7. And a hadith as well. Ibn Majah, on the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar. Rasulullah said, do not swear by your forefathers, and whoever swears by Allah, let him speak the truth. And the one who takes an oath, and the one for whom the oath is taken in the name of Allah should be satisfied with it. And whoever is not satisfied with it is not from the slaves of Allah. So to not make a sloth, to make an oath to other than Allah, that is a form of kufr. Number 14 is kufr al-qiyama bi ghayrullah, to stand to other than Allah, to stand to anybody different than Allah Azza wa Jal. Yeah? And that means to stand for somebody, for example, like a judge, or for a taghut, even for anybody out of respect, that is a form of kufr. We don't do that for anybody. Yeah? Even we don't stand for Rasulullah, let alone for somebody, you know, imam, or like today. Today, completely crazy. You go watch videos of this fool, not even worth mentioning his name, yeah? But people forget standing for him. People are kissing him, bowing down to his feet, and dancing all around him, and doing Bhangra songs and all this sort of business. And they call themselves Sufis, yeah? This Tahir guy, yeah? He's a kafir anyway, yeah? But all this type of business, yeah? This is completely rubbish. Rather, we say all qiyam, all standing, raku and sujood, they are the haqq of Allah, and taking anybody else like this is to set up a rival with him. And the ayah in relation to this is 3 verses. First is Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 165. The next is Surah 14, verse 30. And the next after that is Surah 83, verse 6. If you missed them, just let me know. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 165. Surah 14, verse 30. And Surah 83, verse 6. Okay. Number 15 is kufr al-ghayb, to claim knowledge of the unseen. I already mentioned this point anyway already, but I want to give you some references in regards to this. Surah 19, verse 75 to 85. Kufr al-ghayb. Surah 19, I believe Surah 19 is Surah Maryam, if I'm not mistaken. It is, yeah? If I'm wrong, then just correct me, yeah? I'm pretty sure it's Surah 19 is Surah Maryam. Verse... I've got a daughter called Maryam, you see, so it's easy to remember that one. Surah 75 to 85, and also Surah 27, verse 64 to 65. 75 to 85. And next one is Surah 27, verse 64 to 65. Number 15, oh right, no wonder I got it wrong. I see. Next one is number 16. Yeah? Am I right or am I wrong? Yeah, good. Okay. The one who lies about Allah. The one who lies about Allah, and that could be, for example, he says something that Allah said, but Allah never said it. Or the one who claims that Nabi Muhammad, he said something, but he never said it. And obviously you know about that. The one whoever says anything that Allah never said or the Messenger said, we've been informed, let this person take a seat within the hellfire. But there's 4 verses in regards to this. Surah Ali Imran, verse 94 to 95. Surah 6, verse 21 to 24. Surah 61, verse 7. Surah 10, verse 59 to 60. I'll repeat them. Surah 3, verse 94 to 95. Surah 6, verse 21 to 24. Surah 61, verse 7. Surah 10, verse 59 to 60. You catch them all? Alhamdulillah, good. Next one is number 17, yeah? I always get my numbers mixed up. Kufr at-tahrif. And this is also known as zandaka, or to distort something. Zandaka, zandiq, we say the one who is zandiq is the one who promotes his kufr in the name of Islam. Yeah? Zandaka, you can call it 2, this is 2 basically, 2 in 1. Kufr at-tahrif, someone who distorts anything, or promotes his kufr in the name of Islam. Good example of the zandiq is who? The Qadiani, Ahmadiyya. They promote their kufr in the name of Islam. Or they change the ayat to whatever it means. 2 verses with regards to this, and we're almost finished. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 75. Surah Al-Nisa, verse 46. And in this one, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, in Surah Al-Nisa, verse number 46, of those who are the Jews, there are those who alter the words from their places. Allah has cursed them on account of their unbelief, of their disbelief. Number 18, isn't it? Good. Kufr al-Riya. Now you might say, isn't this kufr duna kufr, or the shirk al-Riya? Rather, we're talking about here not showing off, but we say to pray for the people, not for Allah, as opposed to Riya. Riya is that you pray for Allah, but it's mixed intention. That you pray towards Allah, but you start to do it for the sake of people to praise you. And these ayat, how many ayahs are there? There's 1 ayah for this. It's regards to the nifaq. And this one is Surah, I think this is Surah 107, doesn't have the verse here. But we can discuss that one at another point. The last one is Kufr al-Nifaq, hypocrisy. And there's 4 verses with regards to this. Obviously that is a massive topic on its own. I don't want to go into all of these topics, that's why I just gave you all the references for all of them, yeah? But I needed to lay these all down as a foundation, otherwise we won't be able to comprehend the rest of the topics. 4 verses, I'll give you them very quickly and we'll finish. Surah 84, verse 22. Surah 85, verse 19. Surah Al-Nisa, verse 145. Surah At-Tawbah, verse 68. Nisa, verse 145. This verse, subhanAllah, this ayah says, surely the munafiqeen, they are in the lowest pit of the hellfire, and you not find a helper for them. And the last verse was Surah At-Tawbah, verse 68. Allah said, Allah has promised the hypocritical men and the hypocritical women and the unbelievers the fire of hell to abide therein. It is enough for them, and Allah has cursed them, and they shall have the lasting punishment. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect us from this and from all of those branches of kufr. So all I wanted to discuss with you, this was the whole topic of al-kufr. There's no way I've got time to even start the other one, yeah, of shirk, yeah. But all I wanted to discuss was, what is kufr? You understand the difference between kufr akbar and kufr asgar? You understand what is kufr duna kufr? Because all of these terms, we need to understand them if we're going to be applying takfeer. As I said, no way for us to comprehend and understand what is takfeer and the preventions of takfeer without to understand this as a good foundation. If you understand this as a foundation, the next topic will be shirk. I'll do that next week because I'm tired, you're tired as well, obviously, yeah. And we'll discuss shirk next week, and then we'll start the preventions of takfeer, yeah. So we'll lay down all the foundations for the preventions of takfeer, and I'll make that comprehensive, a lot more comprehensive than this one. But this one was a lot of detailed evidences, yeah. And obviously this is a massive topic on its own. And then from there on, we'll make the application of that takfeer then on the present governments and the rulers and regimes, and we'll pose the question: is there any takfeer or mu'ayn upon any of those rulers today? And we'll discuss how the application of that takfeer is going to be applied. And then after that, we've got the bonus topic as well, because you can't have like just a chicken on its own. You're going to have the bonus on top of it as well, the masala. The masala is, what's our responsibility then? That's my favorite one. What's our responsibility? So this all should formulate and change your entire thought and thinking and your understanding of the environment that you live in and what our responsibilities are today as a Muslim. We're not just discussing this just because we're bored, because we've got something stuck in between our foot. There's a lot more to it than just that. So if there's anything good I said, it's all from Allah. Any mistakes are all but my own. Obviously, as I said, this is a very academic topic, and things will become a little bit more clearer then, I think, hopefully in the next few weeks with other topics we'll study. Jazakallah khair, wa sallallahu sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.